Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. Landon Schmidt with us as well. We're Sports Time. We're in our Family Leisure studios, and we're with you for the next 3 hours. A lot to get to. It's officially official. Bill Belichick will be the next head coach of North Carolina. He had his press conference earlier this afternoon, so it is official. It is happening. We'll talk a lot about that. We got to talk some NBA, a lot of college football, a lot to get to, NFL with Thursday Night Football, and as always, you can listen to that right here on Sports 56 tonight between the Rams and the 49ers. So a lot to get to today, but Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Brian. I watched the Bill Belichick press conference today. Did you know I get the ACC network?
I did. I didn't know for a fact. I figured you probably got the ACC network, but I'm glad that we have confirmation now.
Got it today and bathed in baby blue. Bill Belichick,
right.
The new head coach. They did go younger for Mac Brown, and now we'll see $20 million already sitting there for NIL. And he didn't accept it with them promising we would raise it. I guarantee you he's already drawing against that, or he would never take it. It's got to be there.
Yeah.
And that's what, maybe not any this year, but this time next year, or maybe even a little earlier, doesn't look like we're going to have any coaching changes this year in the SEC, and it's not many years that happens. But next year when we have 4, 5, 6, every place before they get rid of the guy and pay him off, they're going to have to guarantee to the new guy, here's the money, and not just for NIL. Belichick got guarantees today for the coaching pool, for the analyst pool, film, diet, everything. The entire building, A to Z, is his.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you got to see that money before you agree to it, especially when you're Bill Belichick. And so, yeah, I mean, they're going to have plenty of money to play around with and plenty of money to go out there and try to get guys out of the transfer portal, and we'll see how it works. I mean, Bill Belichick, we know it's not going to be like regular head coaches. It's going to be different, but I think there's two ways this could go. I think it's either very successful or it's a big failure. I don't think there's much in between.
I don't either. There's some that are really concerned about how long will he stay interested, because he could really get out of sorts over NFL free agency.
Yeah.
And that came around, and you had a designated time for it coming around every year. In college football, every single day, every day is free agency.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, and John and I were talking about this earlier, because a point John tried to make was, well, he experiences free agency every year. I go, well, John, free agency, like you said, Brett's a specific time, and also well in advance when those guys are free or up for free agency. It's when their
Richard
contract,
Seymour.
Yeah, I mean, it's when their contract is done, and they need a new one. With college football, every year is contract year for these guys. I mean, every single year, these guys can decide they want to leave and go somewhere else. So it's going to be different. I think that's a really good question because of his age and the changes we've seen to college football and the fact that this is going to be his first time there. I mean, there is a chance that after a year or two, he says, you know what, glad I tried it, but not for me. I'll see y'all later.
And it has really changed, and he's got his team in place. Mike Lombardi, long time NFL guy, is going to kind of run the whole show with Bill Belichick. He's going to be the general manager, and that's a very pro term, but that's what they are. Every place has it now, and you're just going to have to understand that. And 15 to 20 million to try to be really good is the opening bid for 2025.
Yeah.
That's only going to go up.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I was a little surprised, I think yesterday, Brett, when we were talking about this while it was, Brett, the entire day yesterday, this deal was being finalized. But while it was being finalized, we would get kind of little bits and pieces out. And it was being reported yesterday that it was going to be a 3-year deal. And now we learned last night and this morning a 5-year deal for Bill Belichick. Were you a little surprised with the length of that?
A little. I would be shocked if it really is 5. But I think it's going to go hard and try to make a lot of noise in 2, 3, max 4 years. And then that will probably be enough for him. I think it's bold and worth trying on North Carolina's in a place that they've been committed to college football, but never at a championship level. This is committing at a championship level. I don't know that North Carolina this time next year can be in the playoffs or not, but with this kind of commitment, that is significant, and that is what a team that wants to be in the playoffs next year will have to be. If you're anything under that, if your money's around 10, 12, 13 million, you better hope everything works. Injury-free, chemistry's right, and that player that you get for $100, he plays like a $500,000 player. And speaking of money, LSU, the announcement that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be back next year, $1.7 million for Garrett Nussmeier.
Wow, good for him.
I was told.
Wow, that's incredible. But no, you're right. I mean, we always talk about places making splashy hires, and this is the 10 out of 10 cannonball splash hire of
it is.
What it means.
This is the hire of the cycle, and it's been a slow cycle.
It's been a really slow cycle. But I mean, hey, and I understand why, but I mean, I've been sitting here and we've got ESPN on the television here, and the first 6 minutes that all they've been talking about is Bill Belichick. I mean, all day on ESPN, no matter what the show is, no matter what the subject matter is or should be, it's been Bill Belichick. And that's going to continue throughout that first year because everybody's going to want to know. I mean, it's the exact same thing of Deion. Everybody wanted to know what's going to happen with Deion. It was must-see. Every game people were sitting around to watch because of who Deion is. It's going to be the same thing for Bill Belichick. Every single game this year for North Carolina is going to have a ton of eyes on it because people are going to want to see what can Bill Belichick do at this level.
And Deion Sanders not going anywhere. Looks like he's going to land Jaheim Otis from Alabama, the defensive tackle that about everybody wanted. Alabama wanted to keep him, and they're not. And he looks like he's going to go to Colorado. His little brother out of high school is going to Arkansas next year. Arkansas even thought they had a chance at him, but they just don't have their money close to battling what Coach Prime's got going in his collective at Colorado. The cycle's been won by North Carolina, and the promotion and coverage of it, like you said on ESPN, Brian, it has been continuous because I think it is worthy of the story. But also this, all the various ESPN NFL types, they want to cover it, and a lot of those producer types at ESPN behind the camera are all kind of New England and Patriots type fans. So they're very interested. And then the large number of on-air personalities that played for him with the Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, so plenty of connections with ESPN and Bill Belichick. But, no, I mean, a huge hire. I mean, I don't know if it's going to work or not. I know that was, the big conversation John wanted to have earlier of will it work or will it not.
It's worth having, too.
It's worth trying.
And time will tell.
Yeah, and we will see. But
for all of them.
Yeah.
But for all that he's accomplished, even in the ACC, they're not just going to step aside and go,
no.
Coach, it's all yours.
No.
I mean, Cristobal's going nowhere. Mike Norvell's going to return. Dabo's always good. And now you got Rhett Lashley and SMU and many others that just aren't going to say, here, the dance floor is yours. Duke, Manny Diaz, right by him, down the road from him, is going nowhere.
Yeah, I think the conference is only going to get better, and certainly when you add a coach like this, North Carolina going to be a factor you would expect with that coach and that type of money that they're going to be able to throw around. They should be right there in the mix next year.
Wonder when they bring him out at the basketball game at the Dean Smith Center for the big introduction.
That's a great question.
Where is Carolina over the next few days? Because that's always a fun time to bring the coach out and let him get the cheers from the home crowd.
Yeah.
They may even save it for after the new year at an ACC game.
I think that would probably be the most ideal. Maybe save it for. I don't even know.
And have recruits there on campus on the night they do it.
Yeah, because LaSalle is their next home game and only home game until Campbell right at the end of the season. And maybe you let them get settled in and then do it for one of those bigger ACC games, or maybe you want to do it at LaSalle or Campbell so that more people will want to show up for those games because both those likely going to be blowouts against two
But he's got a lot of work in front of him.
He does. No, he definitely does. And, he's going to have to hit the ground running with the transfer portal already open. And you just mentioned, a couple of guys, we've already seen a handful of guys enter the transfer portal and decide where they're going to play next year. So he's, a little behind the curve. But I think because of who he is, he can make up some of that work. But we'll see.
He can. And just you just wonder what other NFL types might be thinking, I'll try college.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know, because usually it's the other way, and and so no, I'd be curious to see if I'm sure it depends on how he does, and if he finds success, then maybe you'll see other guys maybe want to kind of take that jump and move down from the NFL to college. But we'll keep an eye on it. Certainly a fun day for North Carolina. Last night, a fun night with the NBA Cup. Brett, how much of the NBA Cup did you see last night?
A lot of the later game. I didn't watch a lot of the earlier games, but I did watch a lot of the later game and enjoyed it and ready to get back into every night NBA action. I know into the weekend we'll have the semis and then the finals in Vegas next week, but I'm ready to get back. It's almost been a mini all-star break for some.
It's been slow. We've talked about it. It's been a slow week in the sports world, and especially for the NBA. And I think tonight, 3 games, and tomorrow you get more games of those teams that didn't make it to the bracket of the NBA Cup. It's certainly been slow. But my favorite thing from last night, Brett, was at the very end of the Hawks and Knicks game. And my question is, what is more disrespectful, planting a flag at midfield or shooting imaginary dice on the Knicks logo? That's what Trae Young did last night in celebration.
And look at the backlash. Look at the people that are so irritated. I think he was meaning they're advancing to Las Vegas. That's an easy one to figure out. And I didn't see anything that wrong with it. And it goes exactly to what I said. What's going to be the next thing that you can't do in victory?
Yeah. And Trae Young with New York and Madison Square Garden, he's the ultra villain of that team.
And they always have one.
And he is it right now. And he is the type of player that, can become that villain. And I think he loves it. And I think he's called it after a love-hate relationship. And so I think he likes it a lot. And he's a really good player. I mean, it's very easy to hate him when he's against your team.
I can see it now. Dateline, Albany, New York General Assembly member, so-and-so has filed a bill that you can't celebrate by acting like you're throwing dice at a game.
Yeah, it's going to be a felony.
Felony, no less.
Trae Young, the felon. How about that?
Just
stop
them when you can.
That's right, yeah. And the Knicks could not stop. I believe the Knicks were favorites to win the NBA Cup, or certainly one of the favorites to win the NBA Cup. And so now no more. It'll be in the Hawks advancing.
I guess the Hawks would deserve celebrating pretty wildly if they won it.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Won a thing.
Yeah, it'd be fun for them.
Never even been in the NBA Finals.
No, and so I think with what they have, Trae Young and some of those younger guys that have played really
the Atlanta
well.
Hawks. They did back to St. Louis.
Yeah, but I think it'd be fun. I think it would for them kind of mean maybe the start of something new. And obviously it hadn't been good the last couple of years. There have been thoughts of trading Trae Young, and they've traded other guys on that team, other superstars on that team, and they've got rid of coaches.
He's been through a bunch of coaches.
And so I think I think that'd be cool if they were able to win the NBA Cup, and maybe the start of something there in Atlanta.
Maybe so. One parade in December and another one maybe in. They're not winning at all.
No. Certainly not this year.
Oklahoma City can.
Oklahoma City can, yeah. Oklahoma City.
And what about Steve Kerr last night?
Yeah.
So mad and it just rich with irony at Steve Kerr. And boy, he really showed himself, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he was upset.
We've gotten so many lectures from Steve Kerr about normalcy and how you act and how you're supposed to handle yourself and restraint and all this, and then he acts like that.
Yeah, no, he was very frustrated. That end of play was a mess. That whole kind of in last 10, 15 seconds was a mess, and they end up calling the foul, and he was not happy at all, and even stormed out of his press conference because he was so mad.
got mad and left. And he tells us about how important decorum and restraint is.
That's right. And he did not show much last night, I guess.
No, because he's a gigantic phony.
Yeah. But I think he had a case for last night. That was a questionable call, but
it was. It certainly was. But
yeah.
He loves that moral high ground.
He does. Oh no, he definitely does. But he also is very strange. I have not seen another coach where the floors reflect so harshly off of his face. Last night the red was just beaming. Maybe it was how mad he was. Maybe it was actually just his face getting mad.
He was that sore.
But his face, you could see the red floor reflecting at it. Last week, I forgot who they played, but they're maybe Denver, and they were on that like highlighter yellow court, and it was just reflecting off his face. I was like, man, these courts are not a good look for you.
Maybe he needs to watch his temperament.
Maybe that's the first step of it. But no, it's fun stuff with the NBA Cup. And now we've got the semifinal set, Bucks and Hawks in the East and Thunder Rockets in the West. So that will take place this weekend in Las Vegas, followed by the championship game. We'll talk more NBA a little bit later in the show. But let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Keith Smith from Spot Track and the Front Office Show. He'll join us to talk the NBA. We'll get his thoughts on the NBA Cup action from last night, his thoughts on Steve Kerr and how that game ended last night between the Warriors and the Rockets. Also talk a lot of Grizzlies with him as well. 3:45, we'll talk some college basketball. It's been a slow week, finals week for a lot of these schools, and so not a ton of action. So we'll talk some college basketball, talk a little bit about Tigers and Clemson this weekend, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. 4 o'clock, Bill Bender from the Sporting News. He'll join us. We'll talk college football with him. Ton to get to with Bill Belichick, now the head coach of North Carolina, college football playoff, bowl games, transfer portal, a little bit of everything with Bill Bender. 4:30, Doug Kazarian from OnlyPlayers.com out in Vegas. He'll join us. Get some picks from Doug, talk a lot of these games for the weekend with him at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston will join us to talk Tigers. They had Ryan Silverfield on their show earlier this morning, and he joined them to talk about the offseason and the bowl game next Tuesday. So we'll talk Tiger football. We'll also talk Tiger basketball with him as well. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. Get over there for the Ultimate Game Room and Fall Sale. Complete the Ultimate Game Room with a new pool table, a shuffleboard, and an arcade game. Help them clear out their overstock of theater seating. It's all priced to move. It's also perfect fire pit weather, and at Family Leisure, all fire pits are 20 to 30% off. And don't forget about the spas, up to $1,500 off their in-stock spas, and they're also ready for delivery. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt, we are Sports Time with Bryant and Brett, and we're with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk number. All our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Always from our Family Leisure Studios, and always this hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on the remaining 2024 models, all the 25s, and special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and see that beautiful showroom right now, all decorated for Christmas. And Merry Christmas to everyone from Lexus of Memphis. Put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be Bill Belichick getting the head coaching job at North Carolina. It's been out there for about a week or so that he was a name to keep an eye on, that he had interviewed with North Carolina. It felt like all day yesterday the deal was being finalized, and that was the key word, being finalized. And, I didn't want to have us go out there and say he had gotten the job, because with anybody else, I would have said, yeah, he's going to be the next head coach. But, you never know with Bill Belichick. Anything can happen at any moment, but we learned later in the night that he had officially agreed to become the next head coach for North Carolina. His introductory press conference took place earlier today, and now he'll have to hit the ground running. He'll have to go out there and hit the transfer portal. It's already open. Guys already committing places, but he's got enough money to go out there and make a splash for his team next year. Now, will it work? I don't know. It could work really well. We know he's a great coach, and he has that championship mentality in him with all those championships he won in the NFL. But I think we could also see him lose interest and maybe not connect with these younger guys as easy. It's a lot different now than even what it was when he was coaching in the NFL and had all of that success with those guys, like especially Tom Brady. And Brett, you've been saying it all week, but how's that quarterback going to respond to him, getting after him and saying, why aren't you doing this? It's supposed to be like this. And hey, coach, I'm not Tom Brady. I'm
that cornerback. I'm not Rodney Harrison.
Exactly. I'm
not Teddy Bruschi.
I'm not one of these great players that you've coached in the NFL. And so it'll be interesting. I think he's a fantastic coach. So I do think it's a really good chance it works. But again, his age, does he lose interest? Does all of this become a little too much with transfer portal, roster management, and everything that kind of goes into college coaching? Who knows? Time will tell, but it's going to be a big one. His first home game against TCU, and then right after that, they go to Charlotte to play the 49ers. So we'll see, but I think if everything goes right, they'll certainly be right there in the mix in the ACC to maybe push for a college football playoff spot next year.
My top story, playoffs start tonight in the NFL. Bill Belichick's only elimination game in the tightly compacted NFC West. All four still in contention for playoffs, with Seattle 8-5 in first and mostly in control. Rams second, third, everyone's NFC pick in the preseason, if not Super Bowl winner, San Francisco at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara on Prime, but also right here on the radio, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5. 49ers, if they lose, it would put their elimination number at 2. They would mostly have to win out the rest of the way, and here's their schedule the rest of the way. That's why tonight is so important at home. They go to Miami, then home against Detroit, and at division rival Arizona. Even with winning, it'll still be hard for the defending NFC champs.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day is the NBA Cup quarterfinals have come and gone, and now the semifinals are set. I thought two fun games last night. The Hawks get a 108-100 win over the Knicks. This is a Hawks team that entered the game, I believe, as a 7.5-point underdog on the road. A lot of people very high on the Knicks to advance to the semifinals, but it was all Hawks and it was all Trae Young. He was fantastic in that game. Trae Young that has gone through other really good players, borderline superstar players. He's gone through head coaches, but he has been a really, really solid player and showed it again last night, especially in that second half. But you look at this Atlanta Hawks team, and I think they're putting together really nice pieces to go along beside him. Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Richache, the Frenchman that they drafted this year. I think all of those are going to be really nice pieces to add alongside Trae Young. And you even had DeAndre Hunter off the bench last night, 24 points in 29 minutes for the Hawks. I thought a really good game. Knicks played well early, but then, just didn't really have any answers for them later in the game. And then the second one, it all came down to the end, a back and forth game. Rockets go on a run late in the game, and I've heard a lot of people debate it. Steph Curry takes a shot with about 7 seconds left on the shot clock when there was about 10 seconds left on the game clock. The ball kind of squirts around. They jump on it. They try to throw it out to avoid a foul or a tie-up being called, and then the dreaded foul that we've heard so much about comes after that. And we heard Steve Kerr and his frustration. I think he has a case. I didn't love the foul call, and ultimately Jalen Green stepped up to the line and had ice water in his veins, knocked down the two shots. And the first time since February of 2020 the Rockets beat the Warriors 91-90.
Here come the Rockets. My not top story. Year one in the books for the ABC, ESPN, Disney contract with the SEC. The numbers and the data is in, and it was a massive whiff for CBS not re-upping. ABC airing the morning, afternoon, and evening SEC package accounted for more than 2/3 of the most watched games this year in college football. In 2024, 58 games topped the 4 million mark with SEC games featured in those SEC teams featured in those games. And remember, on the graveyard day of TV, Saturday and Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. And watching the games this year, you had the Georgia Ole Miss game that drew 7 million.
Wow.
That was the 20th highest rated game.
Wow, that's incredible.
7 million.
Shout out to ABC.
Yeah, they saw the opportunity, and CBS whiffed. Had the best deal in TV forever with that $55 million SEC deal. Would never go back and renegotiate. And then they ended up getting, the third or fourth best Big Ten game all year?
Yeah. Bad business decision, certainly, for CBS. I'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, we're talking some NBA with Keith Smith.
Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporty luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Want to make this the most unforgettable Christmas? Genesis Time is with 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes. Do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for a loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marlin, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
Grizz Nation, join John, Jaron, Dez, and your Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow at 7 p.m. when your Grizzlies host the Brooklyn Nets. Get hyped, get ready for a star-studded show, and secure your tickets today at Grizzlies.com.
It's the Arkansas Razorbacks and the Texas Tech Red Raiders in this year's AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Plus, Phoenix Cavaliers.
to talk NBA with Keith Smith from Spot Rack and the Front Office Show, and on Twitter X at Keith Smith NBA. Here's Keith Smith talking basketball with Bryant and Brett.
Keith Smith joins us now from Spot Track and the Front Office Show to talk the NBA. Keith, thanks so much for joining us. I'm curious, this week has been a very slow week for the NBA because of the NBA Cup playoffs, the bracket portion of it, whatever you want to call it. So there haven't been a lot of games. Grizzlies don't play again until tomorrow night. Do you think this layoff is good, bad? What do you think about the layoff for all of the teams that didn't make the NBA Cup?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think, we're now a month and a half or so into the season, and we clearly got a whole lot of injuries going on around the league. So I think giving the guys a chance a month and a half in to get off their feet a little bit and rest up, and, maybe some of the guys who are dealing with more of the, bumps and bruises and the pulls are, it's good for them to get a little bit of rest. And, it's one silver lining byproduct of not making it right into the knockout rounds is you get a little bit of extra time off.
Yeah, almost get another All-Star break. The Grizzlies won on the famed parquet in Boston last Saturday night against the Boston Celtics. There are regular season wins that are just regular season wins, and then are those with the gold star by it. And that was a gold star performance for Memphis.
Yeah, 100%. They came in and they took it to the Celtics. I thought the way they played, they were so aggressive on both ends of the floor, and that was awesome to see. There was not that there's real fear of anybody, but they were like, hey, we're here, we're good, we're ready to play, and they went right out there and did it. And that's a lot of testament to Taylor Jenkins having them ready to go, but a testament to the guys, right? Every single one of those guys went on the floor, and I thought, as much as Jaren Jackson Jr. was awesome, John Morant was terrific, I thought their bench, gave them really good minutes throughout that game against the Celtics. Big part of that win.
Yeah. Next time Grizzlies hit the court again tomorrow night will be against the Brooklyn Nets, and there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of maybe people trying to pitch the idea of maybe the Grizzlies trying to go out before the deadline and trying to get a guy like Cam Johnson who plays for the Nets. What do you think of that fit of them going out and getting a 3-and-D type of guy like Cam?
Yeah, I don't dislike that idea, right? It's kind of, we're in year umpteen of the Grizzlies need more shooting on the wing, right? It's been kind of almost ever since they've, been in Memphis. That's been a storyline. And I think Cam Johnson would fit. The challenge is he makes $23 million. Getting to that number is going to cost them a couple guys. But I think the Grizzlies have been a little more open to, all right, we're not going to be so precious with the guys we drafted. We're not going to be so much in the mindset of we got to keep these guys. We can't ever trade them. So yeah, that's the kind of target I'd be thinking about, especially if you're thinking, hey, we're good enough to make a real run at this thing. Yeah, that's the kind of guy you want to go out and get.
Who are the Grizzlies' assets that would have to be in a deal for that to happen?
Yeah, when you get to something like that, you're starting to talk a little bit about you're getting into maybe Marcus Smart. If you feel like, all right, we've kind of got the position covered with Scottie Pippen Jr., gives us enough depth there, we can maybe move on from Marcus Smart. If it's strictly the Nets saying boy, we really need an asset play here. This is the guy, right? Let's go with someone along the lines of Santi Aldama or something like that. Those are the guys you're starting to talk about. But again, one of the bigger issues is you're going to have to get yourself up to that 23 million number, and that's where a bigger salary like a Marcus Smart probably needs to be in a deal. Otherwise, you're talking about starting to stack together 2, 3, 4 guys, and that's a lot of guys to put together in one trade.
Last night in the NBA Cup action, Steve Kerr was furious after the game after a foul was called in the final seconds when a couple guys on the ground for a loose ball. What did you make of kind of that end-of-game sequence and then Steve Kerr's response after the game?
Yeah, it is funny in the NBA how we go through. they've done a lot better with not calling so many fouls since about midway through last year. But even then, like even when they are, heavy on foul calls, it's like a loose ball on the floor, and it's like, hey, let's just have a rugby scrum. Like guys are, diving in off the top rope, and with that. So I understand why they called the foul. It was a foul. Like I'm not going to complain about that, but I also understand where Steve Kerr is coming from with the mindset of, hey, we had like 48 minutes almost of complete war out here at times. And nothing got called, and now we're going to call this as, kind of the deciding play. That's where I'm with them a little bit. Let's let the guys on the floor decide the game.
It sounds like LeBron James is going to need some time away. What do you think the issue is, and how much time?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't have a good feeling on what's going on here, and I think that's, kind of the same as everybody else, where it is, all right, you just had a whole bunch of time off. You're now going to take more days off. He was dealing with a foot issue, and that was very evident in the last few games that he played, where, you could see, I didn't know if it was just legs were tired, but when they came on, he's like, yeah, he's got a little bit of a foot thing, and that tells me that's probably maybe like plantar fasciitis or something like that, where the only real remedy is get off it and stay off it for a little bit. So, yeah, definitely a something we'll keep an eye on, but I got to wonder, you made it 20 games, and now you need like a 2-week break. Are we going to have to do this 20 more games? And then 20, like, where are we going to go with this, with LeBron James? And that tells me J.J. Redick and staff, whether LeBron likes it or not, probably need to start spotting him more rest as we go through these games, which is completely, acceptable. We're like, a couple weeks from him turning 40 years old, and we're in year 22. I don't think it's crazy to suggest he might need a game or two off here and there.
Yeah. It looks like Max Strus is going to make his season debut for the Cavs Friday night. He's been out all season with injury. Cavs been really, really good to start the season. How will him coming back to the team affect that group, and what can he bring to that rotation?
Yeah, shooting is going to be the big thing. When things have very few times this year, they've gone a little south for the Cavaliers. It's been when they're not making enough shots. So that's going to be the number one thing he'll bring to the floor is continuing to be a very good shooter and opening up the spacing there and just a little bit more depth. They've gotten really good performances out of guys like Karis LeVert and Dean Wade when he's been healthy, and George Niang and Ty Jerome. Even the rookie Jalen Tyson has played well at moments, and Isaac Okoro, who it feels like they just keep trying to replace, and they keep coming back to him, and he keeps playing well. But, again, it's just one more good shooter that they can put on the floor around Mitchell and Garland and to help open up the inside for the big guys with Mobley and Allen. So, yeah, it's a little bit of, the rich get richer here with a little bit more depth coming in. And, I've heard some like, well, it really helped the defense. I'm not going to go there. Not that Max Strus is a terrible defender, and he does okay in team schemes, but he's certainly not going to help you, lift to what's already a pretty good defense much higher than it already is.
Cleveland and Boston looks like they will go down to the last week sorting out the East, doesn't it?
Yeah, quite possibly. We'll see, right? I mean, all it takes is, one key guy ends up missing, a week or two of action, and then, next thing you know, you're in a little bit of trouble. But it does seem that way. It does look like, we're going to see them, kind of battle it out pretty deep into the season, and that's great for the league, right? And quite frankly, I think it's really good for the Celtics because instead of Joe Mazzulla having to invent, the carrot out there to chase, he's got it now. It's, hey, you want home court advantage? You got to run down Cleveland. We're going to be chasing them. And sometimes we see that. I remember the Warriors talking about some of those Rockets teams, being so good was really good for them because it helped them, give them something. All right, we got to kind of hold them off. We got to play to stay in front and those sorts of things. I think those things are always helpful for teams, especially once you've climbed the mountaintop. It's a little hard to get ready and motivated again. I like to call them, Tuesday in Charlotte games. It's like, all right, what do we go? Well, if it's, hey, we don't want to lose more ground on the Cavs, well, then it becomes a lot easier to get the guys focused.
And, Keith, we kept waiting last year for Denver to kind of ignite. They never did, and they haven't this year.
Yeah, I think we're starting to have to come around to the Nuggets are still good, and Nikola Jokic is still, for right now, the best player in the world. He's playing unbelievable. But what I think we have to recognize is that team is flawed. Their roster is not, as good as it was when they won the title a couple years ago. They've lost guys. They've lost some of their depth. They've lost a little bit of their edge. And it's going to be hard for them to get it back unless Jamal Murray can really refine it again and become, Jamal Murray, he should be an all-star. He's a potential All-NBA kind of guy. If he doesn't refine that, the Nuggets are going to be a good team that is a tough out because of how good Jokic is, but there's going to be a major ceiling on how good they can be.
Mm-hmm. When you look at the Houston Rockets and what they've done this season, we mentioned it earlier, beating Golden State last night. First time since, February 2020 that they've beaten the Warriors. What's impressed you the most with this team? I mean, another one of those teams we kind of always talk about, a young team, guys really kind of trying to find their identity in the NBA, but they also have a couple of veterans on that roster as well.
Yeah, it's they're an interesting team, and I think it's funny. They keep talking about how we don't want to make any trades. We don't want to make any trades. We're good with what we've got, and I think there's some truth to that because I think one of the things they're doing, kind of the tried and true method of, all right, we got to figure this out and try to really do what we can to try to win some games here and kind of do push, and then we'll figure out what we're going to be come playoff time.
Mm-hmm. Last thing for you, Keith. A.J. DeBonza, the number one prospect in the class of 2026, committed to BYU. From what you've heard, from what you've seen, what kind of prospect will he be? Will we be talking about next year when he's at BYU? Will it be like the Cooper Flag mania that we've seen over the last year or so, or do you think it'll be a little less, a little more? How do you view A.J. DeBonza currently as an NBA prospect in a couple years?
Yep, that's exactly what it's going to be. It is going to be just like it's been with Cooper Flag with him. I think we're also going to get to a place with A.J. DeBonza where we're going to start hearing a little bit more about Cam Boozer, who is Carlos Boozer's son. He's another big-time prospect in this class where it's going to be – those are going to be the guys that we're going to be hearing about quite a bit here to push this forward. And I think that's going to be huge where we're going to, very much get those guys are going to be hyped coming in. A.J. DeBonza he's big. He's much more of a wing ball handler scorer type, but he is a terrific player. He's got, outstanding size for his position. He is, a good ball handler, can do a lot of things. I think he's going to be one of these guys when people start seeing him even more. They're going to like him more and more the more they watch him. And he grew up about 2 towns away from where I grew up in Massachusetts, so he's good stuff based on that, if nothing else.
That's right. Good background.
The big three from that area, Patrick Ewing, Keith Smith, and DeBonza,
That's
right?
Yeah, sure. That's exactly how it goes. I'm going to clip that and send it to my mom. She'll like that one.
Yeah, what a trio. Keith, as always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Keith. Keith Smith with us from Spotrac and the Front Office Show, talking all things NBA. And Grizzlies back at it tomorrow night at FedEx Forum, the added in game because of the NBA Cup. They play Brooklyn tomorrow night. The rare three cracks at Brooklyn. Can't go 0-3 to Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, here's your opportunity to not go 0 against Brooklyn. And maybe I asked Keith about it, but a lot of people maybe wanting the Grizzlies to make a move for Cam Johnson. So maybe you can see him tomorrow night and maybe see a future Grizzly and a former Grizzly with Zaire.
Would that suffice as the first Eli Savoy Grizaster of the year to lose 3 to Brooklyn?
Yeah, I think that would be a Grizaster. If I had to say a Grizaster's coming, that would be it.
I don't know the exact parameters around it, but that would be getting close. At Jason's Deli, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from everyone at Jason's Deli to everybody in our great audience, and they appreciate you so very much. And so too often, I don't relay enough from them to you how much they do appreciate that. Brian, Connor and I were just there last week, had a great time, and I was there earlier this week, and it's packed, and all the food going out to all the events, all the parties, all the get-togethers, a variety of delicious choices for every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all-day meals for groups of 5 or 5,000, low delivery fees, same-day, last-minute orders welcomed. That's when they excel. Let you step aside, let them step in, and they've got you taken care of. Look, you're going to have a lot of people in and out at different times, so keep food at the ready, like the beef eater sliders tray or the deli sliders tailgate package tray, the fresh fruit tray, and then all the desserts, like the assorted dessert tray with fresh baked cookies and fudge nut brownies. You need that. Everybody's going to be snacking on something, so have Jason's Deli help you bring more to the table. It's a family thing, whether dining in, to go, or delivery at Jason's Deli. And long before some got on the health kick, Jason's Deli was already there. They beat everybody to it. It is healthy. First franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. All these buzzwords that Jason's Deli's been stressing, not just buzzwords, been stressing for years. Now you hear that out in the public domain. Jason's Deli, all about choice. Regardless if you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids meals, if you'd like to invent your own sandwich, you'll be delighted at Jason's Deli. Plenty of organic food to choose from, and that great salad bar in every location with over 30 items for you to prepare it however you would like. Locations on Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, down in Olive Branch, and out in Cordova. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com.
Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk some college basketball.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Looking for the best prices on shirts, jeans, boots, and more? Frontier Western Store's got you covered. At Frontier, you'll always find amazing deals on everything in the store. Unlike online and chain stores who run occasional sales, Frontier keeps prices low every single day. So you get the best deal whenever you shop. Be ready for winter with a full line of outerwear by Ariat, Carhartt, Vans, and coats galore. And then there's Frontier's world-famous boot showroom. Come shop new styles by Ariat, plus plenty of in-stock proven classics too. Whether you need work or dress boots, Frontier is the place. See thousands of boots from Dan Post, Corral, Durango, Rocky, Twister X, and many more with daily arrivals. And Frontier makes Christmas shopping easy because everyone loves to see a new pair of boots under the tree. For the lowest prices every day, visit Frontier Western Store, 1580 Boone Road, Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Locally owned and operated since 1967.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft meals, $5 off meal drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and mozzarella sticks, queso, $4 a day. Friday night ice cream, 7 o'clock. Dine in and buy 12 Wednesday night. Free on watch college football and every pro game. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland. Highway 70, fall is football.
Here from Westwood One. This week on Thursday night, longtime NFL head coach Ron Rivera joins me for the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. The NFC West division race is wide open, and both teams are coming off a win. Matthew Stafford and the Rams won the first meeting, and a sweep would improve their division title hopes. Join us for all the action. Rams and the 49ers on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me go from one Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
Chase Inc. Business Now Start, you can earn up to 5%
Zach back on Business Essentials. So your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more with Joe's. New business owner compensated for the participation. Cards issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Name and recognized. Subject to credit card and terms apply. Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes. Terry! Saving money, getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive. Well, I gave Terry the edge. Over Terry.
Terry!
Keep on really chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it.
Woo!
Be your own Terry. See if you can save as little as 7 minutes on progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates discounts are available in most future situations.
Grizz Nation, you feeling lucky? Win big with Grizzlies spin-to-win ticket deals to secure your seats with the team takes on the Brooklyn Nets this Friday, December 13th. With one spin, you can unlock 4 seats, free tickets, or an exclusive ticket deal to the game. You heard that right. Your chance to win 4 seats, free tickets, or unlock exclusive ticket savings for this Friday's game versus the Brooklyn Nets. Head over to Grizzlies.com/win to test your luck.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Chicago's. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we wrap up our first hour. We got to talk some college basketball. Not a ton of stuff going on this week. Exam week, not a lot of teams playing really until Saturday when we get back to another busy day. And Tigers will start that day at 10 a.m. against Clemson.
They will, and we will talk quite extensively about that with Greg Gaston as we do every week, talking Tigers with him at 5 o'clock. But it is an important game. I think it is the kind of the free shot, the house money game of the next 4. I had 8-5 for the Tigers in the preseason in this non-conference period. They are now 7-2, so 1-3 the rest of the way. I would be right. I thought 8-5 would be fine. I still think it will be, because it should be balanced over the whole path of it. Just like when we talk about college football season, you need to lose early. No, that should count or not count as much as the last weekend. Human nature, though, I know what it is, and I just wonder if committee members are even that locked in right now. Well, they started out good, and they had that November period out in Maui, and then they didn't finish very well in non-conference, and then into conference. We're all expecting it's got to be pretty easy. It's got to be 14-4 low side. I don't even know if Brian. I don't know 4. If this really deteriorated down this last 4, I don't know 14-4 would be enough.
Yeah, it's a good question. I really don't know, and it's a conference where every game the Tigers play in, they'll be favorites, and so they'll hopefully win a lot. And I think that's probably around the losses that you'd be comfortable with, 3 or 4.
But this one Saturday, Clemson trying to avenge last year's very narrow loss at FedEx Forum. Then we saw a lot of Clemson last year. They were back for the NCAA tournament, and 1 or 2 of the same pieces. But the good point guard, the kind of rowdy post player, they're both gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, they added some new pieces, but you're right. I mean, they brought back some really good players. Shefflin is back, and he's been a big-time player for them this year. One of those guards they had last year is back again this year as a senior. So, I mean, you look at that, it's very, very senior-led and, kind of those older guys that you see around college basketball nowadays, but it's going to be a challenge. A really good team got the marquee win last week against Kentucky, and only loss for them was on the road against Boise State. They've been really, really good this year and really, really good on the defensive end of the court.
I just don't know what to expect that early at Little John on campus at Clemson at this time of year.
Yeah, and I think I've heard multiple coaches, but I think I heard Brad Brunell talking either in an interview or Coach So or something like that, and kind of voicing that concern about, with it's, holiday season, finals just wrapping up, an 11 a.m. game, their time.
Depending on students,
Yeah,
them, I think for probably a lot of crowds.
Exactly. So, it's a good question, and, that you would hope would kind of play in the Tigers' favor, because it's certainly not going to be the type of atmosphere that they had last week against Kentucky.
Or even last year at FedEx Forum. That was one of the better crowds of the year. I was at that game. That was fun. Or Clemson 14th in the net today.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, so net likes them some Clemson. Good reason. I mean, they've got some good wins on their resume already. Clemson, Penn State, some good ones. San Francisco.
Memphis at 46.
Okay. All right. I think it's a fine spot to be in.
If you're that locked into the net.
Yeah.
On December 12th. I don't know that I am.
No, I'm certainly not. But,
At least give me to February 12th.
Yeah, net becomes a big factor in February, maybe even a little bit late January, depending on how your season's going.
I will say it, I'll say it again with Greg, and I won't say it confrontational. I hope now or with Greg. I want to see a better effort Saturday against Clemson than last Sunday against Arkansas State.
Yeah, and I think I saw Jason Munn's tweet out earlier this morning. I think Barack Okoji met with the media today and said that. He said it's very easy to see why we lost that game to Arkansas State, and it started with the effort. And I think Penny Hardaway talked about it, in his coach's show Monday night about how, one thing is, we're not going to come out with that, lack of energy again this season. And so you would hope not. But, yeah, they certainly weren't locked in that game against Arkansas State.
And I don't think anybody has freaked out, do you?
No, I haven't seen anybody.
I sure don't think it is merited.
No, I mean, I think Arkansas State's a good team and, good shooting team. And
I don't quite want to make them into Kansas. But
that's a team that if you don't bring the energy and you kind of go out
you'll
there
get
and think you're going to go through the motions, and you'll get that type of response from them. And, we saw it play out on Sunday.
I was hoping the Louisiana Tech game was going to be that game. Yeah. And now we've kind of had two, and see Saturday feel change.
Yeah, and I think one thing, you always say about Penny Hardaway teams is that, they get up for the big ones. And, this is going to be a big one.
That's really undeniable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're always ready for big games. And so you would hope over these next 4 games, they all should be viewed as really big games with, those type of teams that you're going to be facing. So, hopefully they come out locked in and, ready to get some wins. And we'll be talking about, a really good time going into conference play when they'll open up against FAU. But let's go ahead and get to a break, wrap up this hour, and when we come back, we're talking some college football with Bill Bender.
Yes, you're going to recommend that everyone get their holiday meal from Central Barbecue.
No, although it's a great idea, get everybody some fantastic Central Barbecue and not have to do any of the work, but that is not what this spot is about.
It's not?
No, this is about another way Central Barbecue can save you time and trouble.
Ah, Central Barbecue gift cards.
That's right. You don't have to fight the holiday gift shoppers when you can just go online and order up a handful of Central Barbecue gift cards.
No one has ever turned up their nose at getting the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
In the world for free.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
This holiday season, give the gift of Gould's with a Gould's gift card for someone you love. Relaxation, perfectly gifted, is right for everyone. The gift of tranquility with a Gould's Spa gift card is perfect for anyone who deserves a moment to unwind, refresh, and rejuvenate. Because relaxation is the greatest gift of all. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932. Grizzlies are currently the 2nd seed in the West, following a big win versus the defending NBA champions. Extending your Grizzlies win streak to 3 games straight, making them one of the hottest teams in the league. Get in on all the live action this season by bringing your energy to FedEx Forum to catch the next jaw-dropping moment live. Feeling lucky? Win for
autographed seats, free tickets, or unlock exclusive savings by heading over to Grizzlies.com/spin to win.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. The police are on the scene of a couple of non-injury accidents out here the last few minutes. Still moving right now. 40 East over here as you come past Warford, Hollywood, headed over towards White Station. Still moving right now. 240 East getting on to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. It won't be long before that starts to pick up out towards Collierville. Shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry. They're located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253 DF Memphis. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is Bill Bender, National College Football writer for the Sporting News, and on Twitter at Bill Bender. Here's Bill with Brian and Brett.
Bill Bender joins us now from the Sporting News to talk some college football. A lot to get in with everything going on in the world of college football. But, Bill, I want to start with the big news today. Bill Belichick, the new head coach at North Carolina. What did you make of this move, and how do you think it plays out for Bill Belichick in North Carolina?
We're going to be interested no matter what. I mean, It feels a little bit like when Bill Walsh came back. He left the Niners and then came back to Stanford. And if you go back and look at that first year at Stanford, you're going to see 10 wins. You're going to see 5 wins against ranked teams. You're going to see a lot of entertainment. And, I'm just laughing at the criticisms that are saying, this guy's not going to be able to relate to high school kids and won't be able to do this and do that. And I'm like, did you watch the NFL for the last 25 years? Maybe not the last couple years when he didn't have Brady. I understand that. But you're talking about arguably the greatest football coach of all time.
You sure are. And you also saw with Bill Walsh, though, after that first year, he got a little uninterested.
And that's kind of how I see this going. If Belichick's fully invested, ready to go, it went downhill quick for Walsh. So that's kind of how I see it, Brett. The history repeats itself, little thing. But we can't complain about having Bill Belichick in the college game. It's another great storyline for the game, and it should make North Carolina football a lot of fun.
Yeah, we both were happy about it yesterday when it was getting close, and today when it was finalized. It should make everyone marvel, absolutely marvel, even with all the slings and arrows that he's put himself through. The tenacity that he always goes out there with in college basketball for Rick Pitino, and he does not have to do it.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see. I don't know what North Carolina will be. I know they're in a conference that has a ton of parity in it. So I told my editor today, I slacked it on. I can frame it if you want or screenshot it. It said, I won't be surprised if they win 10 games next year. I also wouldn't be surprised if they were just 7-6 as usual, and it goes about the same it did with Mac Brown.
Yeah, but to have that $20 million sitting there for NIL, they're serious about it.
Yeah, and it's not like you do. The funny thing is, I thought he spent this year watching you would have thought in NFL studios, probably watching NFL tape, yada yada. With that, but college players the whole time. Maybe they'll get busy in the transfer portal and build a roster in a hurry. It's been proven, guys, that you can build quickly now. Arizona State, Colorado in the Big 12, SMU won the conference in their first year. North Carolina's had 2 NFL quarterbacks roll through there in the last 5 years, in May and Howell. They'll be able to win some football games.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You mentioned SMU; they get the final spot in the college football playoffs. What did you think they deserved it? What was your take of the final bracket for the college football playoffs?
Yeah, I've been asked that question quite a bit. They did what's right for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Did they do for this format? You know, it legitimizes this format. Had they taken Alabama, it's the only thing anybody would talk about all week. I mean, notice, like, we have to ask the question, and then we say SMU earned it. They won their conference games. They battled Clemson. It was a 3-point game. It makes more sense to put them in than a team that lost 24-3 on the road to Alabama or Oklahoma. With the understanding, and I've said this all week, if Alabama and SMU play tomorrow, I'd pick Alabama to win the football game. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that they earn their way into the college football playoff based on a hypothetical.
I think the SEC teams that were left out, notably Alabama and Ole Miss, all they have to do is look in the mirror. And all week, everybody has kind of used that if they played or if it was a point spread. Well, yes, it would be overwhelming. But I know of an overwhelming point spread, overwhelming 20-point spread for Alabama visiting Nashville when they lost to Vanderbilt. And Ole Miss, 16-point favorite over Kentucky. Yes, I think if you're playing 9 times like Hugh Freeze wants to play teams, it would probably all work out. But you don't get to play it like that. And the SEC disqualified itself. I don't think they were jobbed. I don't think they were. I don't think they got any tough break. Now I do reject a little bit, Bill. Though everybody's so glowing of SMU's comeback that did fall short to a 3-loss team that lost 2 times to SEC teams.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not disputing that either. I mean, when they were down 17 points, Brett, I was thinking, all right, well, we've seen enough. Alabama's in. They did fight back. And, here's the thing. Whether you're SMU or Boise State or Arizona State, those 3 schools are going to be watched with a lot of scrutiny. Maybe less. Arizona State probably a little less. I think Boise State and SMU in particular. That SMU got that at-large bid. Boise State's Group 5 school got a first-round bye. And if they go in there and it's bad, the SEC and the Big Ten schools are going to say, see, we should be in. Arizona State a little bit different to me. I mean, they've been on fire the last 7 weeks. They've played really well. I actually think they should have got the 3 seed.
And Arizona State, I went back and looked today, Brian. I remember us talking about it and the funny name, and I jokingly called him John Riggins Scatabo. He had 242 rushing against Mississippi State back in September.
Wow. Yeah, he's All-American in my – well, I shouldn't say that. We're putting our All-American team together. Maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler alert. A little bit of a spoiler alert there. But he's going to be on a lot of All-American teams, whether it's first, second team, and he should be. He is a really good player. And I think, we had our All-American meeting today. We'll be putting that out next week. And it's one of my favorite labors in sporting news because you got to make some tough decisions on there. And when you do, sometimes Pete fans show up, but I always tell them, man, if you want to criticize what we do, you got to come in our meeting because some of those decisions are really tough. But Cam Scottaboo definitely was involved in our meeting. I'll just say that. And he's a really good football player.
He sure is. And on the shoulda, coulda, just for invited to New York for the ceremony, Bryson Daly would have had a good argument, and Cam Scottaboo would have.
I agree. I mean, all of those guys had a really good season. I think Cam Scottaboo, I'm interested to see if he finished 5th. I filled out my ballot earlier this week. I am not allowed to talk about that one, but I will say, before they got invited, I'm glad. You got 2 quarterbacks certainly deserving. Hunter, a lot of things going to be written about him, and Ashton Jeanty, the way he carried his team to the college football playoff. I mean, all 4 have a case and a really good one. Had Miami got to the playoff, it would have been really interesting to see how much more hype Cam Ward would have got.
Mm-hmm. And no SEC player. Who is your SEC MVP? Who's your SEC player of the year?
Probably Dylan Sampson's up there. I mean, he had a really good year. Running back. Carrying
you'll see him up close next week.
You know who I really like? He's not the MVP, but he's probably my favorite player to watch is Jahdae Barron, the Texas defensive back. He is always around the football. Saw him when they played Michigan earlier this year making plays. Made a play in the Georgia game last week. That guy is a really good defensive back. They've got a really good defense. I don't know if they can overcome this. They just got to win a close game against the heavyweight, which they haven't done this year. I mean, that Texas team is dangerous. I really like that defense.
Ross Bjork, as athletics director of Ohio State today, said Ryan Day's not going anywhere and that the Buckeye faithful better really gobble up the tickets and be prepared for the big orange crush that's going to roll into town. You're talking about defensive players, fun to see. Tennessee's got a couple of them, Pierce and Big O from here in Memphis and others. What do you think that atmosphere is going to be like? Do you think people are going to the game unadulterated, go Buckeyes, go Ohio State, or are they going to still vent after the Michigan loss at Ryan Day?
First quarter is going to be huge. It's just huge. Like, if they go out there and it's 2-3 and out, and Tennessee's leading the game, the mood in that place is going to be different. I think the excitement level here would be, still hard to go to Ohio Stadium and win. Choose a great place to watch a football game. I don't know. I mean, there's still some. They lost to Michigan around here, but now the added excitement of this new format, I'm wondering if they'll get over it. I'd say I'm looking forward to going to that game next Saturday, seeing the atmosphere, seeing how much orange does infiltrate the stadium. The thing is, I mean, Tennessee does some things that Michigan does and has a really physical defense like Michigan does. And I think it'll just come down to, is Nico Iamaleava ready for that atmosphere? Does he play well?
Mm-hmm. Bill, you're the perfect person to ask this question to. Yesterday, the news came out that in Ohio, there was a representative trying to make it a felony to plant flags in the state of Ohio. I've heard other people saying that he is a Michigan fan and that he's just, kind of trolling. What do you think about this? What do you know about this? What's going on with the whole making flag planting felonies in Ohio?
And is that the biggest public policy question in the state of Ohio?
I think we got more important things to worry about. No, I mean, I think it's absolute nonsense. He does. I don't know for fact his fandom. I know for fact that constituency there is, it's up by Toledo. Mm-hmm. So Toledo is, planting Toledo would be it's right on the border of Ohio and Michigan. There are plenty of Michigan and Tigers fans that live up there. They got the Mud Hens, of course, the AAA team. And maybe he's playing around, but I mean, it made the waves, and if that's what we have to worry about, I mean, come on, man. Who cares? I said that afterward. I don't know. I was at Texas, Michigan earlier this year. Texas put that flag right in the middle of the M. Mm-hmm. They won the game. Who cares?
Was Ross Bjork, do you think he was right to get out there with the pronouncement of Ryan Day's going nowhere?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that eliminates some doubt within the locker room. I mean, does it mean anything if Tennessee beats them by 40? We're late in the carousel too. So I do think if they lose to Tennessee, it's going to put a lot of weight on Ryan Day this offseason, the most ever, because this team was supposed to go out and win a national title, and they are still capable of doing that. So, Brett, that's almost one I don't want to say put a pin in, but just kind of wait and see a little bit, because I want to see how they react. Just like you, I want to see how they react to this first-round environment in the playoff and how they play against a really good Tennessee team.
Who is the realistic dream name of if they did fire Ryan Day? What's the name that most fans are comfortable with?
They don't have one. That's the problem.
Well,
There's no
you can't do it then.
Right. Like, you could say Mike Vrabel out loud, but I think Mike Vrabel's an NFL coach. Now, I thought Bill Belichick was an NFL coach. You could say Marcus Freeman. Well, who's to say Marcus Freeman would leave Notre Dame? You could say Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer already said he's not coming back. So I think they're stuck. Plus that buyout's there, and that buyout money can be used for their very lofty recruiting budget and transfer portal budget. And they have a lot of guys. This was an all-in year for them in a lot of ways, kind of like Michigan. They are losing a lot. So I don't know if firing Ryan Day is the answer. We're about to find out. I don't think he will. I tend to agree with what Ross is saying here, that's what's going to end up happening.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Bill Bender, he joins us from the Sporting News to talk college football. Two other coaching hires over the last 24 hours. Rich Rodriguez is going to return to West Virginia, and Dan Mullen is going to take the UNLV job. What do you make of those two hires?
I think Rich Rod, it makes sense. West Virginia, obviously you can go home again. I think his career's gone full circle since he left the first time, and I liked it. I mean, as soon as West Virginia popped open, you saw what Jacksonville State was doing, kind of thought to yourself, hey, West Virginia makes sense there. And I'm glad he's going home. I always like stories like that. Sam Mullen's got some flash and some personality. UNLV's a flashy program, showed that this year, so we'll see how he does. The last 48 hours have turned a very bland coaching carousel cycle into a very exciting one. You can throw Scott Frost on top of that with his return to UCF.
Yeah, and so often those guys going back for that second tour of duty, it doesn't work out. And we've got a couple of those breaking out.
Yeah, and we'll find out. For me, I think UCF will be competitive. The West Virginia, the thing with Rich Rod, you can be competitive in that conference. Kenny Dillingham's proven that. Colorado's proven that. So I actually like that hire a lot. I mean, he's the guy that put Steve Clayton and Pat White in our living rooms, and I think he'll continue to do a nice job.
Mm-hmm. And, well, if you don't think the passage of time can fix most things, do we remember just how ugly it was? Got the governor involved. I mean, he was public enemy number one when he left for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's pretty far down the memory bank. I remember that, obviously following the Big Ten, since it didn't work out at Michigan, but I think he can win there, and he's from there, and you can smooth those things over. The time heals things like that. I do remember the fallout from that, but I also know that West Virginia starved to have some success in the Big 12, and he might be the right coach to do it.
For the College Football Playoff Committee, what's the easiest self-examination we can do this better next year? What do you think's the easiest thing for them to do to address for next year going forward? I'm not talking about publicly doing it tomorrow, but when they do the first release unveil next year, we could see it.
They need to see the teams properly in the bracket to the playoffs. I mean, if you look at that, if you seed it how it should be, for what it is, I mean, this whole notion that Penn State has a easier playoff road than Oregon is ridiculous. I mean, if the 8-9 game was Indiana, Boise State, problem solved. If you let Penn State and Oregon have first-round byes, problem solved. I think that's the biggest issue that could pop up and bite the committee as we watch this thing. And the other thing I'm worried about, Brett, is these first-round games have to be competitive. You have 4 games with spreads of 7 points or more. If these games are blowouts, we're all going to be like, why didn't we just do an 18 playoff? Which is what I thought we should have done in the first place.
Yeah, and we had blowouts with just 4 teams.
Right. So if you have blowouts with 12, and remember, that round of 8, I think that round of 12, actually, the round of 12, that's going head-to-head with the NFL. And the NFL, we'll see. Those games that are on TNT are going head-to-head with an NFL doubleheader. Mm-hmm. Don't love that. And it'll be interesting. We know who's going to win that battle with the ratings. So there are still some question marks as we get into it, but I'm still excited about it.
I'm very excited about it. Going to watch, I hope every single second of every game. But the NFL's, and they didn't do this coincidentally. They didn't just stumble into this. They rolled out big guns next Saturday for these games. Their noon game is the Houston Texans, that look like they're going to be in the playoffs, against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the 3:30 game is Steelers and Ravens. They put out big teams to go up against college football.
Yeah, and that was by design.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's greed and corporate greed and all those things. So, that's why at least we had Tennessee, Ohio State in prime time. And I am excited to see Notre Dame, Indiana in that first one. There's something to be said about Notre Dame, kind of, arguably the most prestigious college football program of all time, getting the first one in their house. I think it'll be a lot of fun to see if the Hoosiers can go out there and compete in that game.
Yeah, it will be a lot of fun. Bill, as always, thanks so much for joining us. And next week we'll start previewing these games. Talk to you then.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Bill Bender with us from the Sporting News, talking everything from college football. And it did get interesting over these last few days. Ross Bjork today, they're staying with Ryan Day no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's probably good to go out there and say that. I mean, you don't want something like that and how loud it gets with that fan base to really linger, and especially, with this game coming up. I know Bill said, maybe he doesn't really mean that if it gets lopsided and Tennessee just is all over Ohio State, then maybe something changes. But you certainly don't want that in the back of fans' minds, and then maybe a slow start for Ohio State, and they start turning on them again in that game. So I like the move to just go ahead and let everybody know that there's nothing to any of that smoke they're trying to create.
For Tennessee right now, just making the playoffs, great year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You go to Ohio State and win.
Oh man,
that makes greater.
It would be a super year. And, I think when we were in – heck, Brett, we went, what was it, yesterday or the day before and looked back at our college football playoff brackets before the season. And I certainly didn't have Tennessee. I had them kind of right there outside. But
I had them 9-3, outside.
They were one of those teams. I think a lot of people were like, I wouldn't be surprised if they make it, but – I also would not be surprised at all if they don't make it. And so the fact that they were able to get in there and, get that type of seed, and certainly, a lot of people hoping they would get a home game, but you got to go on the road, and I think that's going to be one of the more intriguing games of the weekend.
And I know I said after SEC Media Days, people would just think, it's fun and seeing all your buddies and everything. No, there's stuff I learned, and what I learned at SEC Media Days, Tennessee was going to be a lot better. Mm-hmm. I was still burned on Tennessee from last year. Mm-hmm. You know how bullish I was on them last year, but everybody said, no, this is really real this year. I was a little skeptical, though, of the playing time for Nico. Mm-hmm. I know he was good in the ball game, but even after SEC Media Days, I said I should have. I didn't change it. I should have had Tennessee in the spot that LSU was in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. I think, a lot of people had a lot of confidence about Tennessee, especially after SEC Media Days with, what they heard and kind of looking at this team. And then to see that, hey, Nico was able to get in there and kind of learn on the fly, and they didn't really need him to do a ton. They got a great running back. And, Bill Bender just said if he had to list a player of the year in the SEC, that it could be Dylan Sampson, the running back at Tennessee. He was so good. That defense was so good. And so you didn't have to rely on Nico to go out there and try to make a bunch of plays every single game.
And they have a really good tight end. It keeps them in kind of the safety valve, take the pressure off Nico. Yeah. They don't need Nico going up to Columbus and having to, do a whole bunch of stuff in 7-step drops and, swinging for the fences. They can do it just a bite at a time they have. And if they get that win, then I think it's official. Everybody talking about this league now goes through Kirby. Okay, I'm still going to be there. Second, Heupel, not Sark.
Yeah, no, I mean, with what they've done and certainly bringing a lot of guys back, you would think for next year, I mean, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think Heupel as a coach has shown that, he is in that kind of elite category of the SEC.
And right now in the SEC, when you talk about the big four, the big three revenue-producing sports and the AD, well, it's Tennessee with Danny White as AD, then national champion in baseball with very controversial, and he didn't go to the Cardinals. I missed on that one.
Well, yeah, I kind of wish he had.
Barnes and Heupel, that's your big four right now in the SEC.
Yeah, and I know we've had several listeners text in about just the year of Tennessee in all sports, and we had one texter, I don't remember what show it was on that I saw it, maybe during John's show a couple weeks ago, kind of point out that look 5-10 years ago at the state of all these sports at Tennessee, and now where they are today, it's remarkable to see them from then to now.
Randy Boyd deserves a lot of credit. The university itself was adrift, and the athletics department was kind of rudderless. And everything was going wrong, and the leadership shown there, and then Danny White, and you just get a little momentum.
Oh, yeah.
And Vitello really started the turnaround of – they missed a few years ago when they were probably the team to beat the year Ole Miss won it.
Yeah, they were
got knocked out, by Notre Dame that year?
That's right, yeah.
And he kept it going, and then here comes Barnes, here comes Heupel, and Big Orange rolling, and I'm pulling hard for him. It's all SEC fanboy for me.
I love
the rest of the way in the brackets. I'm gonna pull as hard for Tennessee as most diehard. I don't think you are though.
No.
You go pass on that.
I'll be rooting for Ohio State.
So one time Mississippi State was they were in a bowl one year and Ole Miss wasn't. And Mississippi State, a friend of mine said, now you're going to pull hard for the Bulldogs, aren't you? I said, I'm going to let the Bulldog fans pull hard for the Bulldogs.
I'll let them handle that.
So you're going to let the Tennessee fans and the SEC fanboys pull for Tennessee,
I may or may not be watching the game with my best friend that's an Ohio State fan, if that will tell you anything. But I'll let them handle that.
Nothing says holiday fun like driving home in a new All-Star Chevy. It's the Red Tag event in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet that could get you some big customer cash or financing as low as zero. That's as low as you can go, zero. How about a new Tahoe or Silverado, maybe a new Blazer or Suburban? Together, let's drive into Christmas and into 2025 in a new All-Star Chevrolet. Some will have special financing and no payments until spring. Your good credit deserves it, and you get it at All-Star. First exit after you cross into Mississippi on Highway 78, take Kraft Goodman Road, and you're there. Olive Branch, where all the new Silverados and Tahoes are, new 24s, new 25s, and if you're law enforcement, educator, recent grad, military, first responder, healthcare worker, an instant extra $500 bonus back. Every late model pre-owned you're looking for is right there at All-Star in one place. All the Silverados, all the Jeeps, Toyotas, Ram trucks, that really sporty Camaro, Lexus, Ford trucks, SUVs, they have them. If you got any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star, and you'll get the most money back for it, even if you didn't buy it from All-Star. Don't miss the final holiday red tag sale going on now in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. Drew and everyone at All-Star wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Well, we need to get to a break. When we come back, we're going to get some picks from our guy, Doug Kazarian from OnlyPlayers.com out in Vegas.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
If you love sports and Mexican food, you can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos and enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with reservations from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $4.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham. There's no gift that's more beautiful, more personal, and more meaningful than the basic
Graham here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. NFL Week 15 kicks off with NFC West action. The LA Rams are coming off an epic win over the Bills and looking for a third straight W, while San Francisco hopes for back-to-back wins to help get back in the division race. Join us for all the action of the Rams and 49ers on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Hi, I'm Rico, the founder of Rico's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Ink card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a thriving location, and we're hungry for more.
Chase Ink Business Unlimited card. You can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase. So your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Build business owners policy. Partnership with your home business. Another policy subject to credit approval.
Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to protect against wear and deposits. Get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select filter for just $32.99. In-store only. Limit supply. Learn more at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Menas today. 901-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363. It's the Arkansas Razorbacks and the Texas Tech Red Raiders in this year's AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Plus, new Hall of Famer Phoenix Cavalieri.
Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Well, we're not able to catch up with Doug Kazarian, so we'll talk some NFL Thursday night football tonight. A really good one, Rams and 49ers. You can hear that tonight on right here on Sports 56. 6:30, our pregame coverage will start for that one. Before we talk NFL, though, we are going to give away a pair of tickets tomorrow night. Grizzlies back in town, taking on the Brooklyn Nets. We've got 2 pairs of tickets to give away for tomorrow night's game. So we'll go ahead and give those out. First 2 callers to the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, 901-360-8255. That's 901-360-8255. First 2 callers to Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, you'll get tickets to that game tomorrow night to see the Grizzlies back in action. Really good start for this Grizzlies team, so go out and support them. Brett, Thursday night football tonight, Rams and 49ers. You mentioned it earlier. Feels like a playoff game.
It does. The stakes are big tonight with that compacted West. I talked about it in my top story of the day, and should be real fun tonight.
Yeah, it really should be. It looks like we have Doug Kazarian with us now. Doug, thanks so much for joining us. We were just talking about the Rams and 49ers game tonight, a really good one. It feels like Prime has really knocked it out of the park with the games they've been able to get this year on Thursday night. How do you view this game tonight, 49ers team that's pretty banged up, and do you like anything for tonight's matchup?
Yeah, a couple things to touch on. Obviously, the numbers come down from 3 to 2.5, so that is sharp money at +3, but it's right at like 2.9, if you will, like factoring the juice on either side. So it's a tough call. I lean to the dog if you can get +3 in a pick'em league. That's what I'm on, but I'm on the over. I bet the over. I'm a little uneasy because it's come down since 49.5 to 48.5, so that's uneasy. But I just think, like, given the powerful weapons with the Rams and the Niners defense without Bosa, And then San Francisco having that offense clicking last week, finally back on track after 3 straight losses against a suspect Rams defense. This game should have points. In one podcast, a guy brought up a really good point, and he said this time last year when there were games that had huge swings in terms of playoff odds, like, oh, if this team wins, they go from 37% chance to 58% chance to make the playoffs, things like that, they were all high scoring. These teams went down swinging with the pass. They opened it up, and they said, if we're going to lose, we're going to lose. You know, we're not messing around. And it was a very offensive-minded game. Like, that's why we've seen the Colts-Broncos game, sort of a similar scenario with fringe playoff teams. That number got bet up from 42.5 to 44. So I think we're going to see some points tonight. It's just the way things are going with games so impactful with the playoff probability odds.
Doug, didn't you just describe the Rams in Buffalo last weekend? You couldn't run that up there high enough.
Highest scoring game of the season, right?
Yeah. And you're on the right side of that, I hope.
Yeah, I was on. I leaned Buffalo, but then I was on the over as well. So it's just tough to kind of like the road favorite spots are really tough. But these teams are such wagons covering. You know, the Lions were such a machine covering every single game, and then finally back-to-back non-covers. And then a team like the Buffalo Bills were on a roll. I think they had won 8 straight, 7-1 ATS during this run, but finally they did not cover last week. So it's really hard to bet into streaks, and it's a challenge as a bettor because you remember what you last saw, so you're so unlikely to go against something, but that's sort of the rhythm to the NFL. It's like you have to bet into stuff like that.
In Las Vegas, Rams 49ers, are they popular teams to bet on?
I think football in general is going to be popular. If we had, Chiefs Lions on a Thursday, yeah, the handle would be a lot higher. But this game's going to have a solid enough handle just by being such a high-profile game.
Mm-hmm. What else do you like in the NFL this weekend?
So looking ahead to the weekend, it's obviously, there's teams that have checked out. I mentioned this game. So my favorite play is the under in the Tennessee Titans-Bengals game, which is now coming down. It's now 46.5. Why is that? Well, this Titans offense is pathetic. And early in the season, Will Levis, the quarterback, was lending himself to overs because he would throw picks. Well, he's at least cut down on those. And you have a defense that's pretty solid, all things considered. And this Bengals defense is not good, but I don't think it should get carved up by this Titans offense. So I think we're going to see like a 23-10 game, 27-7, maybe 27-13 game. So it's just a lot of points. And even the Bengals-Cowboys game went under the total despite a high-scoring first half. So it's just a lot to ask with any game involving the Titans to go over. So I like the under there the most.
And these people that set the lines, they got it down. The overs have climbed all year, and the league keeps getting there. These are big over-under totals this weekend.
Well, they're finally back, right? So the first few weeks this year, they were slow, low-scoring games, much like we saw at the beginning of last season. And that didn't, sort of take. And then, so finally, points are coming back, unless it's like a severe weather and a blizzard or windy game mostly. So that's a game that really jumps out. And other games that stand out, like the Bucs-Chargers game, right? That's 45.5. We saw the Bucs defense get lit up by competent quarterbacks. Now the Raiders have their QB issues, but they don't have competent quarterbacks. That's a big difference. And then the Chargers, they had a bunch of unders to begin the season, but that's because they were facing guys like Bryce Young, the Raiders quarterback, Spencer Rattler. Once the Chargers had to face some good offenses, such as the Ravens, such as the Bengals, they started getting involved in shootouts. Now, last week they were playing great, really intense. Bucs off, the Chiefs offense. But I think this will be different. It's on the fast track of SoFi, and I think we're going to see some points between Tampa and the Chargers.
You mentioned rain and wind and maybe snow. All those things could factor in to the Army-Navy game. And I see the over and under at 39.5. That feels like Canadian Football League is broken out at Army-Navy to have an over-under that high.
I really like the over. In fact, I like the over for Army's team total. And I'll tell you why. So over the years, this game had a ridiculous trend to the under. It was like 15 straight years or whatever it was. And the number kept getting lower and lower. But the reason for that there was actually a tangible reason. It wasn't just walking by a roulette wheel and seeing 15 straight reds. The reason for it is because their offenses run those triple option and all that, and the defenses are used to facing that in practice all week, all season. So while they may they face opponents on a week-in, week-out basis that don't have the same discipline, lane discipline, and all that stuff that's required to stop it, facing these teams and these defenses, they do. So that's why you have 14-play drives and field goals and all that, is because the defenses understand their gap assignment when facing such a unique, unorthodox offense. So that's the reason for all the years why it went under. However, these two offenses are different now. Navy opens it up and throws. Army has chunk plays and long plays because they have a dynamic quarterback and can throw the ball. So it's atypical Army-Navy matchup this year, and Army's offense is explosive. They have a bunch of explosive plays. We saw Navy give up a bunch of big plays to Notre Dame, and I think the Black Knights are going to open up a can here, and I think the team total is like 23.5. So I think Army's going to get there. This is not sort of like the wishbone or nonsense, 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense that we've seen in recent years. The Army's going to throw the ball around and score, I think, pretty easily.
Doug Kazarian with us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's in Las Vegas, and go to his site at onlyplayers.com. A lot of great information and a lot of ways for you to make money and enjoy the games. Doug with us this year in college, 17-9. That's 60.653. In the NFL, 13-7. .650, so overall 30-16. You split the difference with 650 and 653 at 652. You'll take that. You'll take 65%, won't you, Doug?
Heck, man, I'll take 55% of this.
Darn right. The story about the bettor that bet the large amount on the Eagles, was that money line or what was that?
Yeah, it was about 3-point-something money line on the Eagles. Didn't really get to the bottom of it as like why this game, why Week 14 or whatever it was. But he had quite the sweat.
He sure did. I thought of
Panthers. Yeah, I mean, once you saw the bet, you just knew it was coming down to the wire, right? Like that goes without saying. But that's the beauty of betting is some guy can come off the street and wire in some money who's been probably betting small all year, or he goes to Vegas or whatnot. I know to all of us an amount of money like that and things like that, but I know a guy pretty well here who bet $1 million on the Super Bowl here and there, and that's pretty big. It's all about, that could be money we found in our couch, the ratio of what that means to our budget versus what it means to their budget. People have expensive habits and hobbies. And some people like to bet big and win big and things like that, and to each their own, right? They're putting up the money. They're doing it legally. They got a little traction, but I think that's just where this industry is going to head, right? I always say we're in the top of the first inning of legalized betting.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, Doug. I mean, it's only just started. I think it's not only going to be rampant across our phones, kind of already, but in various states, you're going to have like in Arizona at TPC Scottsdale at the golf tournament every year. You're going to have brick and mortar places there, and you're going to have kiosks around the states. I mean, it's going to be like going and buying a Powerball ticket.
100%, and you mentioned sort of the communal concept, the brick and mortar, right? Like the sports book concept, the craps table concept. Just think of a craps table, but also communal on your phones, and that's what the next generation is, right? They quote-unquote watch a game together by betting on it and then interacting through a Discord chat or a Telegram chat, interacting and conversing about the game that they're watching that they all have action on. That's what this next generation sort of social interaction is. That's why they call it social media. Because
that's Brian.
For them now.
You're in those groups, aren't you?
Yeah, I sure am.
Well, yeah, I'm a bachelor, so I can't speak about Gen Z, and I have no kids young, but I have peers who do this, and obviously I've been studying the industry and trying to get a feel for it in terms of our target, our target demos and things like that as I try to grow a company in this space. But that's how they view this. This is where, everyone's really advanced. I grew up in a world where you had to write a term paper by going to the card catalog and trying to find a book in the library. But that, those 15 minutes I took, they can get that information on their phone. So just think about how much more efficient this next generation is in terms of gleaning information. They're just used to accessible a world and quick, right? The patience is not exactly high. So if they can do this so quickly, and then they're going to be accustomed to sort of quick expectations of quick answers and quick everything. So the stimulation of a cell phone or whatever, interacting through it and all that, it all sort of adds up and is aligned.
Doug, I took a computers class where we had the computer room and punch cards.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Floppy disk, right?
That was horse and buggy. What's your favorite NFL play Sunday?
I would say the under in the Titans game that I mentioned. So I know we're talking in the state of Tennessee, and it's just not coincidence that it happens to be that. That's where I'm at right now. There's a few other games that have caught my eye. I do like the over in the Browns game. I mean, how can you not when Jameis is involved, because he's a human turnover and he also has big play. And the Chiefs, one of these days, that offense is going to break out. I do like the Steelers, man. 5.5 is getting a little rich for Philly. I like Philly and all that stuff, but Mike Tomlin this season is 5-0 outright as an underdog. So if you want to keep betting against Tomlin, be my guest. I don't. I'll grab those 5.5 points. So that stands out to me. I like the Broncos minus the 4 a little bit as well. So, and then the over in the Broncos, Sunday night game, Seahawks, Packers. I think these offenses, for what I was talking about earlier, I do think the offense is up here.
Yeah. Last thing for you, Doug. Only 3 games in the NBA tonight. Is there anything NBA-wise you like?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I think there's a couple spots here for player props. Cade Cunningham, the outstanding perimeter, former number 1 pick for the Pistons, has been really strong. His combined rebounds and assists is 15.5. I honestly think, this is a guy who has triple-double potential, so the ceiling of rebounds plus assists is like 23-ish, 24. And this floor is like 14. And so with Tatum being out, who grabs all those rebounds, I just think there's a lot of rebounds to be had. And Cunningham is sort of a guy who's deferential to the more alpha guys like Jaden Ivey on the team, so he's going to fill up the stat sheet. Sometimes it's points, but it's almost always rebounds and assists, and I think 15.5 is really low in that game. This Pistons team is frisky. Boston doesn't really blow out teams. They're 9-15 against the spread, despite having the second-best win percentage in the NBA. So I think we're going to have a game where the Pistons play all their guys, all the minutes, because it's going to come down to the wire, so to speak. So I like over 15.5 combined rebounds and assists for Cunningham. And with Toronto and Miami Heat, with Scotty Barnes out of the lineup, Jakob Poeltl, the starting center for the Raptors, is really active. He gets a lot of bunnies. He moves along the baseline and floats in the key for some quick pops, and also grabs a bunch of rebounds. So his rebounds plus points over 26.5, I believe. And I also just straight up like his points over 14.5. Toronto's a really frisky team, one of the better ATS teams. So they're going to, even though they're out Scotty Barnes, they should hang around in this game, not get blown out. Their coach is a psycho, and I say that in a good way. And they're going to play hard. And I just think Poeltl's going to put up a lot of stats whenever Barnes is out, because Barnes is like a double-digit rebound guy. So when he's out, someone's got to grab those boards, and Grady Dick's starting, but he's more of a perimeter shooter. Poeltl's a guy who's going to just man the paint a bunch. And I like his points plus rebounds and also his points over 14.5.
I love it, Doug. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
You got it, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Doug. Doug Kazarian joining us from OnlyPlayers.com in Las Vegas, giving us some picks for the weekend, the NFL, Army-Navy game, even some NBA for tonight. Well, let's get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good the base will marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. She was the one that put pig seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it.
A beloved family of families still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, crafted and savored responsibly.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rowers, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
You feeling lucky? Win big with Grizzlies spin-to-win ticket deals. To secure your seats with the team takes on the Brooklyn Nets this Friday, December 13th. With one spin, you can unlock 4 seats, free tickets, or an exclusive ticket deal to the game. You heard that right. Your chance to win 4 seats, free tickets, or unlock exclusive ticket savings for this Friday's game versus the Brooklyn Nets. Head over to Grizzlies.com/win to test your luck. Sportstime on Sports 56 and 95
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number today is the number 20. Last night, we've talked about it a little bit. The Warriors and Rockets game ended with controversy, but behind the controversial end of the game was a nice run by the Houston Rockets where they were getting stops on one end and turning them into points. I believe they ended the game on an 11-0, 10-0, somewhere in that range run over the Warriors. So my big number today is the number 20. The Warriors are the only NBA team in the last 20 years to go scoreless with multiple shot clock violations over the last 3 minutes of a game and end up losing. So the Rockets defensively really strong last night, and it led to a win and, something that hasn't happened in 20 years for the Warriors.
And a good win for the Rockets, and I don't think they'll celebrate like they have a couple of world championships with Hakeem Olajuwon. But they hadn't won anything in a long time. My big number is 1,846, 1,846. No, not a year, but the margin that Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy by in 2019, wow. And that's the largest landslide win in Heisman Trophy history. He won by 1,846 points over runner-up Jalen Hurts, then at Oklahoma, and I think Saturday it could get topped.
Yeah, I think we see something very similar, if not more, on Saturday.
Sure could, yeah. and to do that, to top Joe Burrow, that would be something for quite an accomplished player.
Yeah, a very accomplished player, and I think both those top two guys I think really deserve it. But I think one stands above the other with what he can do and what he does on both sides of the field, and so it seems like it's going to be pretty close to unanimous for Travis Hunter, if I had to guess.
If it wasn't for Travis Hunter, this really would have been 4, 5, 6 person race.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been included Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, no.
But if you don't have Travis Hunter, how good a year does Shedeur Sanders have?
It's a good question. But no, I mean, there were some, I think all 4 of these guys that, are finalists are very worthy of winning the Heisman. And certainly those top 2, Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty, they've both been remarkable this year.
And certainly not to win it, but Rourke, the quarterback at Indiana, Bryce Daly, the quarterback at Army. I mean, it was some good years turned in. Not a single real strong Heisman run year for anybody in the SEC.
No, which is hard to believe, but
it goes back to my theory, back to middle of September at the latest. It's a good SEC year, but not vintage. It's vintage at All-Star Chevrolet. Nothing says holiday fun like driving home in a new All-Star Chevy and the red tag events ongoing in Olive Branch that could get you some big customer cash or financing as low as $0. How about a new Tahoe or Silverado, maybe a new Blazer or Suburban? Together, let's drive into Christmas and the new year in a new All-Star Chevrolet. Some will have special financing and no payments until spring. Your good credit deserves it. Olive Branch is where all the new Silverados and Tahoes are, 24s and 25s. If you're law enforcement, first responder, healthcare, military, educator, recent grad, you get a $500 bonus back. Every late model pre-owned you're looking for is at All-Star in Olive Branch. All the Silverados, all the Jeeps, Toyotas, Lexus, Ram trucks, Ford trucks, SUVs, and check out the Camaro. If you've got any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star, and they'll give you the most money back for it than anywhere. Don't miss the final holiday red tag sale going on now in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. Drew and everyone at All-Star wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Well, let's put a wrap on the second hour, and when we come back to start our third and final hour, we're talking a whole lot of Tigers. The football team gets ready for their bowl game Tuesday night against West Virginia. The basketball team getting ready to take on Clemson on the road. We'll talk all of that and more next with Greg Gaston.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at GaddisJewelers.com and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
So you're sitting there at your desk feeling trapped in your house, working from home, and you can't stop thinking about breakfast. Do you have anything to eat in the house? More importantly, it's not like anyone is watching you. Who's going to know if you sneak off to Sunrise on Jefferson or Sunrise East on Poplar and grab a quick bite to eat? You don't even have to eat in at Sunrise. Both locations will gladly prepare you a great meal to go. Your desk at home is going to feel a lot better when you're tucking into breakfast, or lunch for that matter, from Sunrise.
Grizz Nation, join John, Jaron, Dez, and your Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow at 7 p.m. when your Grizzlies host the Brooklyn Nets. Get hyped, get ready for a star-studded show, and secure your tickets today at Grizzlies.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Watching it build over here in the Midtown area, especially 40 West at Danny Thomas, as that traffic starts to crank up across the Hernando de Soto Bridge, headed back over into West Memphis. Still moving right now. 40 at Watkins, coming off that 101 connector as you work your way eastbound on I-40 from, let's say, Hollywood over to White Station. Affordable, compassionate veterinarian care for your animal at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County. Check out their website. You can see all the animals that are up for adoption by logging on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Once again, Ben Northworthy and Brian Davis.
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love.
Well, it's a busy time for Memphis athletics right now. Football team about to head to their bowl game Tuesday night. Basketball team, they go on the road for back-to-back games against Clemson and Virginia. And we always talk Tigers on Thursday afternoons, and we always do it with Greg Gaston.
Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant and Brett.
Greg Gaston joins us every Thursday to talk Tigers. And Greg, this morning, y'all had Ryan Silverfield on the show this morning on Sports 56 Mornings. What did the head coach have to say in preparation for the bowl game Tuesday?
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. Always good to be with you guys. Yeah, Coach was business as usual. He said that there hasn't been, much drama with a quick turnaround to the bowl game on Tuesday, that they had a few days off, and then it was back to work like it would be for a regular season game. I think that's the difference between having an early bowl game and then waiting around until maybe after the holidays to have your bowl game. And I think it also lessens the drama because more than likely the young men that are contemplating leaving, even though it is portal window time, that they will opt to stay and play because you're playing on the 17th. The window stays open until the 28th if players elect to leave. So, that's what you want. You want to play a Power 4 conference opponent, which they're going to be able to do on Tuesday night in Frisco. They're going to go to try to win their 11th game, which would be 21 wins in the last two seasons. Practices have gone really, really well. They've only had a few opt-outs, and that's it. I mean, again, drama-free. I think he likes it.
You have to like that, and you have to like Tigers posted as a 4.5-point favorite as we speak over West Virginia, total of 58.5. I think the Tigers put it on them, Greg.
Look, West Virginia is pretty solid, Brett. I was talking with the coaches today. We had our meetings to preview what will happen next week, and West Virginia has actually had less opt-outs than Memphis has. Neither one has had a lot. They're a veteran team, a senior-laden team. They got a humongous offensive line. They got two good running backs and a veteran quarterback. All these guys are playing. Now, they have one of their players, the redshirt freshman, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., whose name probably sounds familiar to people because his father played in the NFL. He opted out. But for the most part, all those guys are there. We've seen them play really well at times this year with West Virginia, and at other times, they've stunk up the joint. They've been very inconsistent. Neil Brown lost his job. As you guys know, they're bringing in old, familiar, successful Rich Rodriguez, who had a nice tenure there at West Virginia. He'll be back. I'm sure he'll be there on Tuesday. But, yeah, I like Memphis' chances. The way they finished the season, the way they played at Tulane, I think they're all in. But it will come down to the trenches again. I was a little surprised. I think I was not alone that the Tigers handled Tulane the way they did from a physicality standpoint, winning in the trenches. And this will be another challenge against West Virginia. They look at West Virginia's defensive line, the coaches do, as the most formidable defensive line outside of Florida State. And I know what happened with Florida State this year, but still, going in, the big defensive line was the issue for Memphis, and they were able to do some good things. And if they can do some things against this defensive front, it's not a front that will blitz. They usually drop 8 back into coverage and try to get some rush with only 3. They'll send their linebackers in every once in a while, but they're trying to beat you mano-a-mano, physical. And if you can handle that pressure up front and get a little bit of a running game to go along with Hennigan throwing the ball, I think you have a great chance to win this football game.
Mm-hmm. Looking at in terms of the transfer portal, not many guys have entered from the University of Memphis. A couple of young guys that have entered the transfer portal, but nobody that really made an impact on the field this year. Do you think that the Tigers will have a lot of success keeping guys out of the transfer portal, or do you think stay to the bowl game and then once that's over, because of how early it is, you'll start seeing guys enter?
Yeah, I would imagine there'll be a few guys. I don't think it'll be a mass exodus. But like I said, with the early bowl game, it gives these guys an opportunity to play, be rewarded for the season, to play in a bowl game. That's a shame about the whole portal window calendar. Like when it happens, a lot of guys opting out to get a better situation for their future don't get to reap the benefits of having fun and playing in the bowl game and all the stuff that goes with the bowl game. But Memphis, they do have that opportunity. So I would think, Brian, they'll probably lose a few guys, but I think for the most part, guys are committed. They're committed to stay here, and we'll see how it goes. But you're only as you're strong as that offer, right? You can only hold back so much, even if you're committed to Memphis, and all of a sudden you get an offer or two from another school for a lot of money. It makes it hard to want to stay when you get that opportunity. So we'll see what happens, but I think I like their chances for a lot of the name players that do return next year that still have eligibility to come back and play for Memphis.
Greg, for Coach Ryan Silverfield and the administration and the fans, everybody, we all know what's next for Memphis Tigers football on the ascendancy. It's to be a playoff team, and when it expands, I think it's the goal to be a playoff team somewhat regularly.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, and it will be interesting to see what happens in an expanded playoff. I would love to see a couple opportunities for the group of 5. I don't know if we will see that. You have just the one opportunity right now, unless, of course, you're an at-large pick, which again, it's the first year of the 12-team playoff, but that's going to be hard. You know the politics of the game. But, yeah, I think as far as being one of the top group of 5 teams and being a team that should be in the mix for the playoff, I think it should be there pretty much every year. Look, there's going to be some schools and I've had these discussions in the American Conference that they feel are going to take off here very quickly as far as NIL money. They point to South Florida and they think there's going to be a lot of money infused into that program. But it doesn't mean that Memphis still doesn't have that ability to be there. They're disappointed. Look, Brett, they're extremely disappointed that they weren't able to get the deal done this year. Don't get me wrong. They're happy with 10 wins and hopefully 11 wins, but they're not satisfied by any stretch of the imagination. That goal was to get to that playoff game by winning the conference championship, and then who knows what would have happened.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling well, and for Ole Miss and Memphis, it's big. Disappointing is not one of my favorite words. It's bigger than that, Greg. I've said it. It's heartbroken.
It is. I have a tough time trying to find that word between disappointing
it really
and like
covers a lot,
disaster. Yeah, exactly, because it is far from a disaster.
It absolutely wasn't a disaster.
Right, for Memphis and for Ole Miss. No, it wasn't.
19 wins between the two of them, and we're all going around. I mean, every Ole Miss fan. Last night I was at an event, and everybody you run into, it's like, went 2-10, and who are we going to hire to be the next coach?
Exactly. Again, you didn't reach the ultimate goal. You felt pretty good that you would this year. Both came up short, but it doesn't mean by any stretch of the imagination, that this is a season that people should be crying about in their soup. After it's all said and done, and go, oh my gosh, Ole Miss.
Holidays are red. I had somebody say that the holidays are. I said mine aren't. 9-3 and 3 tough losses. Same for the Tigers. Couple plays you turn them around. Now you do wonder now though if Memphis had completed that 13-0, I don't know that it would have edged out Boise if everything else had played out in college football.
Yeah. Hindsight, who knows what would have happened if you did run the table. But Boise, you can't take anything away from what they did. They did their job. They lost one game. It was to the number 1 team, the only undefeated team, and it was a close game. So I'm taking nothing away from Boise. But your original question, I think it's important that Memphis is in the mix. But the first step is to get to the conference championship. And that's not going to be easy. And, Army looks like they're here to stay, and they'll be a solid competitor in the conference. We'll see where Tulane goes. You wonder right now, they're kind of teetering. They lost their quarterback to Duke, and where are they with money? I think UTSA has a chance to be better moving forward. I don't think there's a ton of money there, but I think they're able to get some good talent. South Florida is the one I'm really interested in seeing. I think they have a chance to take the step up. But Memphis should be right there at the top. And if you're at the top of the American Conference, then you certainly have a great chance to be at the top. It didn't work out this year, but you certainly have a chance to be at the top of the group of five, thus being in the playoff.
Greg, I just so reject the history revisionists that want to go back to the successor to Mike Norvell. It was overwhelming. It was a landslide. It was Ryan Silverfield. It flowed nicely, fresh from that staff. I know now you can look around and you can see Dillingham and you can see Lanning and you could cherry pick, but Ryan Silverfield has put in a lot of great work here, and we're talking about a 10-win team that can win 11 on Tuesday. You mentioned the 21 and 2 years back to last year. He was right there with all those others in building this. He's been primary to this.
And he's really committed. Now, I'm not saying that if he got an offer that knocked his socks off that he wouldn't take it, but I know there were inquiries. There was some interest from schools that had openings. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sitting here and saying that he was offered, but he was certainly in the conversation. And so I can tell you at least that. And he is committed. He knows that he's compensated well. He wants to get the job done. Like I said, if it was an offer that was just, as the Godfather would say, an offer you can't refuse, well, you can't refuse it. We understand that. But he hasn't turned this into the stepping stone job that it normally is. Obviously, Justin Fuente used it, went to Virginia Tech, loved Coach Fuente, did a great job here, getting Memphis football back on the map. Then we know what Norvell did, and he got the offer from Florida State. You're not going to say no to it. If Ryan got called by USC tomorrow, they fired Lincoln Riley, I'm sure he would jump on that thing. But the fact that he has been here quite a long time, he is a senior statesman in the league, along with the UTSA coach. So you have, a couple of guys that have been around for a while, and in this day and age, you just don't see it much anymore. So to have a guy that is committed to this program, is committed to this city, I think that deserves some respect.
Mm-hmm. Tuesday night will be Seth Hennigan's final game as a Memphis Tiger, and that will start the conversation that will be the conversation until the opening game next year, probably, of who will be the quarterback next year. It will be a lot of names in the transfer portal at that position. I'm sure Tiger's looking at all of them. Behind that, what will be kind of the biggest either question mark position for the offseason, or maybe the biggest position that needs to be addressed in the transfer portal?
That's a good question. They brought in some good guys in the secondary this year that they won't have back next year, so I think they certainly have to address the secondary. Running back, it'll be interesting to see if they're going to add, because they did have the guy originally. We thought they had the guy from Iowa. Yeah. He ended up getting a bigger offer and took off, and that's what happens. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what happens in the portal. But once again, they're dependent on Sutton Smith to return and be healthy, and the guy has had injury after injury. If they have that speedster back, I know they're feeling good about themselves. Greg DeWosier will return, but I think you certainly have to add a running back. The secondary, it never hurts to have another couple of offensive linemen. You did a great job in getting Trent Holler, the center, who was a one and done, so he's gone after this season, so you're going to have to replace that center position. You got to make sure they have a very functional long snapper like they did with Colby Cox. But I do believe that the most interesting and intriguing question is the one you brought up, Ryan, is what will they do? Are they going to go out and get a veteran quarterback to compete, not be handed the job, but compete with the young guys who come back, and then Antoine Hill, the top-rated recruit that's coming in, one of the top that Memphis has ever had as far as recruits are concerned, or will they just allow Antoine to go in there battle the returning players like Maiden, who's very good, like Boyd, and see the best man win the job. But then you're banking on youth, you're banking on inexperience, and that's a lot to put into the hands of a young quarterback. But remember, that's what happened with Seth Hennigan. He was handed the keys to the car as a true freshman, and he delivered. But can lightning strike twice on that? I don't know. I have no idea what Coach Silverfield and that staff is going to do with the quarterback position.
Our guest, Greg Gaston on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's on the Tigers sideline, and every week he joins us, and it's brought to you by Dyer's Hamburgers, Crab Kings, and the Crazy Coop. Before we get to basketball, I got to get this in. Don't the Tigers, and Greg, going back the entire time you've been here, don't they always find a running back?
Okay. Yeah, just look at the history. You're absolutely right. They always find a running back. Because I do think that there are.
I mean, Joe Doss, Curtis Steele. I mean, you can go back every year. That's a sufficient college running back.
Well, look at Blake Watson last year. They thought, okay, here's Blake Watson. He'll be good. He'll be at least serviceable, if not better. The guy's on the I was going to say the Nuggets, on the Broncos 53 man. So yeah, I think the reason why is I still believe that young football players rather play offense than defense. So you got a lot of guys that are at the skill position, and there's only so many, right? You're going to put one or two on the field at the same time. So I do believe that there is enough out there, and some that are untapped, right? You may bring them in, they haven't had the opportunity, they flourish, and then all of a sudden they get offers to go somewhere else. So, yeah, I think you can find running backs. I think you can find – you can't always find speed on the outside, but you can find receivers. You can find sure-handed receivers. You can't always find the speed. That's something that certainly Memphis has been looking at, and they did get one of the incoming high school players from Houston, Texas, who has a lot of speed. But I think, running backs, it's just been a nice run for Memphis over the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Greg Gaston. He joins us every Thursday to talk Tigers. On the basketball side, Tigers looking to bounce back this weekend after the loss last Sunday against Arkansas State. What did you see in that matchup with Arkansas State that eventually led to the loss?
I saw a team that wasn't ready, not a team that wasn't prepared. I know Penny kind of took the fall and the hit on this. Look, it's a team effort, so it's a combination. But to just sit there, and that's what coaches do, kind of take the shrapnel. I don't buy it. I don't think those players were ready to go. Whether it was hangover from Allie, remember they played a game in between. When they got home, they played Louisiana Tech. So I don't know if it was so much that. I don't know if they were looking ahead to this stretch, especially this game coming up on Saturday against Clemson. They just were not. They were not into it. It seemed like the body language was bad, and then they started to struggle defensively. Communication was bad. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time this season they looked lost to me. And then when they started to press, Arkansas State did a good job to break the press, and they would get it through an open guy, and he would hit a three, whoever it was. Arkansas State had guys deep on their bench that played and ended up contributing. They wanted it more. That's what it seemed to me. And then when Memphis made the run in the second half, which they've been doing all season long, you thought, oh, they got it down to 8. This is going to continue. It's going to dwindle. They're going to get the lead, and they're going to end up winning this thing by 5 or 10 points. Wasn't to be. Every time Arkansas State had the answer. So I thought, number one, bad communication defensively, really bad. They would converge 3 guys on one, and they'd leave 2 guys open. And then also you had the rare bad game from Tyrese Hunter. And I think it's going to be an issue moving forward if you have a game in which Haggerty or Hunter really struggles. You have to have both those guys, plus other guys contributing, to win. This was a solid Arkansas State team, but this wasn't Clemson. This isn't Ole Miss or Mississippi State. This wasn't Connecticut or Michigan State. This is the first game this season, this young season, in which one of those 2 stud guards had a bad game. I think you need both of them to play incredibly well to beat the better teams like Clemson, and them to both play solidly to beat middle-of-the-road teams, with all due respect to Arkansas State.
What's the health status for Moussa Cisse?
I haven't heard anything more about Cisse, so your guess is as good as mine, but they need the guy to be a physical presence. Look, he's not an offensive threat. He never was. He never will be. He gets to the free throw line, and he's actually done a decent job in making free throws. But, Brett, he has to go in there and be an intimidator on defense, and he's not always that. He's not always in the best position. He should be able to alter shots, block shots, get rebounds, but I haven't heard anything on his status. They are so thin on that front line with Jourdain, who's not a real physical player, with Dane Danger, who's not the biggest guy. That's why Cisse has to be the enforcer, and he really has never been in his career that type of player. They do miss Tyreek Smith to have that fourth big, and we've talked about it a number of times on this show. If there's something out there, if there's somebody that can help the team that happens to be a frontline player and is available, I'm sure Penny will look at that situation because he realizes how thin they are up front.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned that front court play, and one of the big issues Sunday against Arkansas State was how many offensive rebounds they gave up to the Wolfpack. And you look this weekend against Clemson, they averaged about, 12.5, 13 offensive rebounds per game? I mean, that could be a real issue with the Tigers in this game on Saturday.
They are ferocious. And even with P.J. Hall now gone, we saw them last year here in Memphis, with Memphis able to win the game. That was before the dysfunction settled in with Memphis. So you had guys that were bigger and better rebounders. That's why Penny emphasizes how important it is for these guards to rebound. And we know that Haggerty's a really good rebounder. In fact, going into the game against Arkansas State, he was the leading rebounder. I haven't seen the updated stats, but he's right up there. You need to try to limit second chance, third chance opportunities. If Clemson gets them, they're going to eat you up. This is the game that really concerns me. It concerned me before the loss to Arkansas State. I think this one is going to be the toughest of the four that they're playing. They got Virginia on the road, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I'm not saying that those other ones are cakewalks. I am not by any stretch of the imagination. But this game being on the road at Little John, the way Clemson is playing right now, the revenge factor from last year, this is going to be, and an early game on the road, this is going to be a big challenge.
It will be. The next two on the road at Clemson on Saturday morning, the next Wednesday night, 6 o'clock game on ESPN2 against Virginia, and then home against State and Ole Miss, and that will be the biggest crowds of the year, and the Tigers need them. The crowd Sunday was poor, and they've been poor at home.
Yeah, they need a shot in the arm. I mean, they need this fan base to get involved, and the way you can get involved, you would think, is to win some of these big games. But then again, they just won some big games in Maui, and they came home to small crowds. That's very concerning. It's very disappointing. But look, they can't. The team itself cannot concern themselves about crowd or lack thereof. They have to concern themselves, like you said, with Clemson, Virginia, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State, because this is going to go a long way to dictate what type of seed they can get, assuming they do their job in conference play.
Yeah, this is seed time, the next four.
It really is, Brett. Really is. Very important, these games.
Greg, what is your prediction for these next 4 games?
I would love to see 3-1. I don't see it. I see 2-2. I look, they better beat Virginia. Virginia is the one of the 4 teams, of those 4 teams, that doesn't have a great net. And even though it's a road game, I still think you got to win there. If you can start it off with a win at Clemson, that is big time. I'm not saying they can't win. I just don't know if they will. So then you have to take care of business against Virginia, and then at least get a split with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I know they like to pay back Ole Miss, what Ole Miss has done to them recently. I think it's tough to tell because I haven't watched them enough. I've been to an Ole Miss game down in Oxford at the Pavilion. I haven't seen much of Mississippi State, but those two teams, I don't know who is the better team of the two. I would lean toward Ole Miss, but you certainly, look, you're playing them at home. So even though it would be a loss to a good net, it would be a home loss. So again, 3-1, I would love to see. I think probably 2-2 is more reasonable.
Yeah. When you look at the American, I mean, before we know it, it will be time for AAC play. Who is kind of that next best? Oh, yeah, I can hear it in your voice. Who is the next best team in this conference behind Memphis? Because we thought it was going to be UAB. A lot of people thought UAB would be better than this Tiger team. They were the preseason pick to win it, but they've been really bad to start the season. I mean, who is that second team in the conference?
Probably Wichita State. Keep an eye on them. I don't think they're great by any stretch of the imagination, but they've gotten off to a good start. I think it's important for the Americans for not only this season but for the future is to have the Shockers back to what they once were. That would be a shot in the arm for this conference. I think certainly UAB, while they're struggling now and a net over 200, when they play Memphis, all bets are off. Rivalry, they were picked, like you said, in the preseason. And remember, with the big that they have, Memphis's problems are inside, getting up offensive rebounds, putbacks, and things of that nature. And with was it Lendelborg?
Yep.
Yeah, how you pronounce his name? Yeah,
that's right.
He's a fourth. So assuming that he's healthy and ready to play Memphis, that'll be a tough out. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, last year was weird. It was hopefully an anomaly for Memphis because they got bit by a number of teams, UTSA and Tulane. I thought maybe Tulane would be better than where they are under their coach, but it just hasn't materialized the way I thought it would. And then after that, your guess is as good as mine, Brian.
Yeah, it's Tulane. A lot of young guys on that team. They have not been fun. I've tried to watch them a couple times. Not fun to watch right now, but I guess that's a lot of this conference at this stage. Well, Greg, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Greg Gaston joining us to talk Tigers. We do it every single Thursday with him, and next week I guess we'll be recapping the Frisco Bowl with him, and hopefully talking about a Tiger win over West Virginia. But
and Virginia, West Virginia on Tuesday, Virginia on Wednesday.
Virginia on Wednesday. So we'll be recapping two games with Greg next time we talk to him, 2 basketball games and then a football game. So really 3 games with him next Thursday. But before we get to this break, let me remind you about our 5 o'clock sponsor. That's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar. Powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system, the Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. It's 877-259-6169. Online, jaguarbluffcity.com, but make sure you go out there, give them a visit, 6335 Wheel Cove, right there, just off of Quince. Can't miss it, and test drive those beautiful, beautiful vehicles. Perfect time to get out there before the holidays and test drive any of those new 2025 models. Well, we need to get to a break. I made a mistake earlier. I want to correct it. I accidentally said the Wolf Pack for Arkansas State. The Wolves. They're just the Wolves, not a pack of them. Just the Wolves. So a little bit of a difference there.
I believe they're red. Red Wolves.
The Red Wolves. That's right. Yeah. So I completely messed up. It's the Red Wolves.
Well, I mean, Wolfpack, Red Wolves.
Wolfpack, Red Wolves. It's just not Wolves,
you can
right?
cut yourself
so,
some slack. You'll be all right.
Okay, all right. I was just making sure. I do like that team, though. I think better than people give them credit for it. But let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Total membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for a limited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Whitten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always shoot with the best. Top Gun Memphis. Make this a magical Christmas with
Exclusive craftsmanship and lasting value. Exclusive designers of shirts, hats, creations, and penetration experts will help you pick out your gifted shirt and tears to your eyes on Christmas morning. So come see us at Genesis for the most romantic and memorable gift of the season. Get holiday store hours, directions, and finance details at GenesisDiamonds.com. Genesis Diamonds, luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Copyright Perkins Extended. See store for details.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20 plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand bottled, taste tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste tested again because you need the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
This Rebel Yell is back. Rebel Yell online radio show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive captain Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC sports ball, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff to first throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56 live 6 a.m. and 98.5 FM. Your South Sports Station. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. We got heavy traffic volume right now on 40 East here at Sycamore View Road all the way out past Germantown Parkway. Just trying to work your way back out to Fayette County can be a challenge this time of the evening, that's for sure, as it gets heavier at 240 on to 385. Bill Morris Parkway, all that traffic continuing back out towards Collierville. Be careful. Shop now and save during the holiday season. Where? Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Well, 30 minutes left in today's show. We got to talk about what's trending. And the biggest thing trending today, well, if we're being honest, it's Bill Belichick. But the other thing trending today, it's got to be Thursday Night Football tonight. Rams and 49ers. You can listen to that right here on Sports 56. 6:30, we'll have pregame for that. And then kickoff will be probably around 7:15 or so. Reminder for the weekend, we'll have Ole Miss, Southern Miss basketball this weekend, 2:30 p.m. for that pregame, 3 o'clock start. Immediately following that, we'll have the AutoZone Liberty Bowl High School All-Star game on a little bit of a delay because of that Ole Miss game, but you can hear the complete game right here on Sports 86. Then Sunday, we'll have our NFL triple header capped off with Sunday Night Football with Packers on the road against the Seahawks. But tonight's game, Brett, Rams and 49ers, it feels like a game that both of these teams really need.
You have to have it. They both had to have it last week, and the Rams got it in wild style against Buffalo, and the 49ers probably played their best since early in the year in beating Chicago. So they know the playoffs have started in effect for those two teams. Puka Nacua, we know he will be in part of the primary focus of the Rams offense tonight. He was dominant last week. with all the catches, and he's been dominant in his career against the Rams.
Yeah, and you mentioned
for the Rams.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 49ers last week against the Bears. I thought that was going to be an opportunity for the Bears to have one of those games. You fire your head coach, and maybe they get that boost with a new guy in charge, maybe a guy that they like a little bit more than that head coach. And they had been playing competitive games, but they ran into a buzzsaw with the 49ers, like you mentioned. Really one of the best games the 49ers have played this year, and that was without the two guys that have been running the ball most of this year. I mean, it just seems like whoever gets a handoff, they find success in this 49ers offense.
It has felt quarterback, running back like that, but they ran out of that luck a little bit early in the year. And I said I thought the Purdy magic was over.
Yeah.
I still think it.
Yeah, and, it's...
So not full Jeremy Lin, but it's over.
Yeah. I mean, he is certainly not doing what we saw him do the first couple of years.
And he's hurt.
Yeah, and super banged up, and was out early this season with an injury. So but still, I think doing enough for them, and maybe last week is what they needed as kind of that confidence boost to bounce back. Because I mean, you look at this 49ers team, and I think we all thought that they were done for, and so I think convincing win last week. We'll see if it's
Christian
legit
McCaffrey.
with what they do this weekend or tonight against the Rams.
This was the last year in the game. It was in the January regular season game where Nakua had the receptions record against the 49ers and the 15-catch night.
Interesting. So maybe he can do something similar tonight against the 49ers. Another guy.
Stafford's had a real kind of second act, hadn't he?
Yeah, no, he's been really good, and has the weapons, and so I think both those guys out a lot of the early part of this year, and so
helps
now
to have weapons.
Yeah, and with both those guys back, you look up and they've won 3 of their last 4, and so maybe kind of turning that corner.
And fun tonight, real good matchup. Thursday night has worked all year. We've talked about it, and with Doug Kazarian, we were talking about it. As Bruce Marshall always says, nothing is static; it's always dynamic. But you could be riding these overs and I think making money.
Yeah, no, the overs have been working this year in the NFL, and you mentioned it
since September, since they got that kind of feeling out, getting started. Period.
Yeah, and Doug mentioned that that early in the season it was a lot of unders coming in, and they kind of set those totals lower, and then now we're kind of seeing it get back to what it was kind of at the beginning of the season, and it feels like the last couple of weeks. Teams really rocking and firing offensively, and we'll see if that carries over into this game tonight.
Baseball term, rocking fire.
That's right. I love it. I love using those terms and kind of crossing sports lines. It's fun.
Speaking of crossing sports lines, we have 2 more tickets, don't we?
We do, and we got to give this. Thank you for reminding me, Brett. We gave away some tickets earlier for Grizzlies and Nets tomorrow night. We have another pair to give away, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's do second caller, Sissy's Log Cabin, listener line, 901-360-8255. That's 901-360-8255. Second caller, you're going to tomorrow night's game. Maybe you can be the good luck charm for the Grizzlies facing that Brooklyn Nets team that they've really struggled against.
As hot as the Grizzlies as they were, you almost hate that they had this break, but a break's always good in the NBA because that's a lot of games.
Yeah, well, and it brings up the question that you always see in the sports world of rest versus rust, and do you really like the break, and do you use it to your benefit, or does it kind of hurt you? And it's a good question for a team like the Grizzlies when you're rolling and you feel like you're in a good groove and everything feels like it's clicking. You might not want that long break that the Grizzlies are getting. So maybe, and this is hard to say because of how they played the first 2 times they've seen Brooklyn, maybe it'll be good to face a team like the Nets that first game back, and maybe can get another win and then really ramp things up for the weekend.
And I'm afraid, I sure don't want it because I like him, and there was a stretch where I thought they had it going their way in New Orleans, but I'm afraid that the first coach out this year could be in New Orleans with Willie Green.
Yeah, no, it absolutely could be.
5-20 going into the game.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy, and especially with the guys they have, the talent they have. Now, both those guys, or a handful of those guys for this Pelicans team have been injured, in and out. And you look at those two big guys with Zion, and feels like his whole NBA career has been filled with injuries.
You keep waiting.
Yeah, and then Brandon Ingram has dealt with some injuries, and it feels like that's a guy that
keep waiting for him too.
Yeah, and feels like around trade deadline that could be a move for them to get him out of there and send him somewhere where he can be on a team that's contending, because it doesn't feel like he's going to get that opportunity in New Orleans.
LeBron ruled out for the game tomorrow night against Minnesota. There are other stories out there that he may be wanting just a full break for a little while from the Lakers. I think this could be tomorrow into the weekend's big story.
Yeah, no, it could, and you're already kind of seeing it grow into a big story. And I think anytime LeBron, you have this type of story with him, it's going to be big, and it doesn't bother me. I mean, I think what's going on behind it. Is there something going on behind the scenes with him and that organization that would be kind of alarms and be a reason to step away, or is it just injuries and getting beat up as a 39-year-old and that kind of wear and tear of playing in the NBA? I don't know, and I think that's something that I'm sure we'll learn and get rumors about as the weekend goes on.
I think health-wise and record-wise for the Lakers, it gets a lot worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is looking that way. A really good start, but then just as of late, they've just really been struggling, and I think that's what kind of goes into this as well with LeBron.
Maybe it wasn't Darvin Ham.
Yeah, it's good question. I mean, I think you look at this roster, and it's not a great roster. You certainly have the stars of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, but I think you have good pieces outside of that, but it doesn't feel like they've completely gelled since you've put this group together.
If you're J.J. Redick, you don't pass on taking the Laker job, though, do you? He's not regretting anything.
No, and I certainly...
You got to try coaching LeBron James.
Yeah, and I certainly don't blame him for much of anything
I
that's
don't
happened. I think he's done a really good job.
But it was not. It's not been the coaching there.
No. And, I think, you look at this and, I know they're dealing with some injuries right now, but, I mean, who's that guy coming off the bench that is, the big player? They just don't have much right now, and especially right now with injuries. Yeah, they have plenty of holes, and I think their starting five is good. I think they've got, really good 1 through 5 or 6. They've got really good pieces, but after that, I think it really falls off.
Tomorrow when we make picks, we will pick a bowl game tomorrow.
That's right, yeah, bowl game on Saturday, and then before we know it, Tuesday night, Tigers in West Virginia.
And then the torrent of bowl picks.
Yeah, then it really gets crazy. But yeah, we'll do I guess 2 college games tomorrow with Army Navy, and then a bowl game in there.
And the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl.
Wow.
In Montgomery.
Look, Brett, I'm glad you didn't ask me what the name of the bowl was. I didn't have that.
You could go through some of those names of bowls, and it'd be hard to say, okay, they're in what city they're in.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tough. I couldn't tell you where that game's being played at.
And then on next Wednesday night, and this bowl, I think it's been everything already. I think it was even the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. We get the Art of Sport LA Bowl.
Art of Sport. I'm not
Sounds very abstract, doesn't it?
It does. Extremely abstract. But, I guess
fill in whatever blank you want to on the Art of Sport.
Guess
LA
you
Bowl.
got to have a sponsor, so,
That was Jimmy Kimmel, wasn't it?
I believe it was, yes.
At SoFi.
For 2 years maybe, and then he got out of that very quickly.
Maybe so. Last night when I left, I went to Jim's Place Grill, and you talking about in full holiday form, a lot of parties and groups that were there just for that, and then there were a lot of people just in the bar area having fun. It was packed. The food was great, and you can get a hold of people at Jim's Place. Go to Jim's Place Grill. Don't forget the Ian Grill, and contact them online and still book for the holidays. They're going to be open up through Christmas Eve. Of course, for them and their staff and their families, they'll be off Christmas Day and then New Year's Eve. That will be the place to be at Jim's Place. And tomorrow afternoon, we will visit with Jason Munns, talk Tiger basketball. It's presented by Jim's Place Grill every Friday at 5 through the college basketball season for the Tigers. Over 100 years of charcoal grill steaks. That's what I had last night. Over 100 years of celebration, and it was plenty of celebrating and family time and lasting fun memories being built last night. And in these holidays, the Terrace family, with their touch for our community, with recipes that date back to the beginning in downtown to now in Collierville at the railroad tracks at Poplar and Houston Levee. Online at jimsplacegrill.com. Don't forget the Ian Grill, and that's where every steak is grilled perfectly over an open flame. Come to Jim's Place and taste and see and feel the difference. Orders to go. There was a lot of great food going out last night. Lunch hours Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Dinner hours Monday through Saturday, 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Since 1921, a Memphis landmark with hard work, values, and a dedication to their diners. The Terrace family, they've created that memorable dining experience. The lunch menu, the staples like the souffle ma, the shrimp cocktail, crab cakes, and all the salad dressings, all homemade. And at dinner, the calamari, the soups, the seafood, and the steaks, fillets, ribeyes, and strips, and the cheeseburger. Don't forget that at Jim's Place. Great bar area, great times, all at Jim's Place Grill in Collierville.
Well, we mentioned the Grizzlies and their game tomorrow night against the Brooklyn Nets. I wanted to bring this up real quick as we get out. The status report for Grizzlies and Brooklyn Nets released for tomorrow night's game. Out, obviously, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams Jr. Zach Edey has been upgraded to doubtful, which...
That's better.
It's better, and if you kind of keep up with it, it sounds like that means out tomorrow, and then maybe next game he might get upgraded to questionable, and that usually means... probably about a 60-40 chance that he plays. So it looks like we're getting closer.
No need to rush
return.
anything with him, is it?
No. I don't think so. And we'll see when he gets back. But no, I don't think you want to rush anything with him. And if it's the game after this, or if it's 2 or 3 games down the road, he'll be back when he's back. And definitely don't want to rush anything with him. But let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Indulge yourself or your loved ones this season with a trip to Sissy's Log Cabin. Here, you can shop our expansive selection of designer brands, one-of-a-kind jewelry, and spectacular statement pieces, all while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Stop by any location or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com to find your trusted jeweler for holiday memories that will last a lifetime. Make a statement this season, only at Sissy's Log Cabin.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Because it's Christmas, Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that is off the move because it's Christmas. So don't wait. You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them for Christmas. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstock, or a place to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits. And all fire pits at Family Leisure are now 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Let's say no more. Spas are in stock, ready for Christmas delivery, and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for Christmas. Just come on by and check out their gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find. Family Leisure. Rated I-40 where family and fun come together for Christmas. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitman Road in Memphis, right off I-40.
Let me
me guess, you're going to recommend that everyone get their holiday meal from Central Barbecue.
No, although it's a great idea, get everybody some fantastic Central Barbecue and not have to do any of the work, but that is not what this spot is about.
It's not?
No, this is about another way Central Barbecue can save you time and trouble.
Ah, Central Barbecue gift cards.
That's right. You don't have to fight the holiday gift shoppers when you could just go online and order up a handful of Central Barbecue gift cards.
No one has ever turned up their nose at getting the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
In the world for free.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown. And in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
I'm with John Burgess from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948. Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia, to Central Park in New York. Many people don't realize how much we do love them. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 per person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering. Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgess' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948, celebrating his 75th year.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is we've had a couple of hirings in college football over the last 24 hours. Obviously, the biggest one being Bill Belichick taking the job with North Carolina. But the other two, Dan Mullen returning to the sideline. It felt like we were moving in that direction. He will take over at UNLV. And then Rich Rod returning back to West Virginia.
What a story.
What a story. Greg mentioned, I'm sure he'll be at the game next week when they take on the Tigers before he officially takes the sideline for them in their first game next year. But yeah, to play there, to coach there, and now to return there for a second stint. Brett, we've talked about it. Doesn't always work out, but hopefully for Rich Rod it does.
Rich Rodriguez was this close to winning, playing for it all at Pitt, or at West Virginia rather, and then left for Michigan and reviled, chased out of the state, told to never return. Time has a way of fixing everything. What I learned, Bill Belichick couldn't land an NFL job. It's why he had to go the college route. He knew the door was going to be shut on him this year in the NFL. He had to settle on North Carolina. Good for North Carolina, good for him. Their football history at North Carolina is about 1 inch thick, but in the NFL, for a place that a 6-time Super Bowl winning coach could not get hired last year and was not going to be hired this year, this is a league that has hired the likes of Steve Wilkes, Mark Trestman, Ben McAdoo, Antonio Pierce, Doug Marrone, and Hugh Jackson, and Bill Belichick can't get a job?
I mean, hard to believe.
These owners don't want to hand him the power.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like that's the exact reason that he's not getting a job. What I could have done without Brett is the reaction by the New York Yankees to the Juan Soto signing with the Mets. And it's everybody involved. The fans, some of the videos I've seen from Yankee fans, from both celebrities and just regular fans of the Yankees, has been borderline ridiculous. But then also the front office, they right after the signing, when he goes and signs to the Mets, they come out and say they're not going to act like drunken sailors. And then what do right after that? They set the record for left-handed pitching free agency contract with Max Fried. Look, I think
Drunken Sailors break out.
Drunken Sailors break out. I think Max Fried is a great pitcher, but is also a pitcher that has battled injuries over the last couple of years.
Every year.
Every single year. And I think, he's going to add a lot to the Yankees, but maybe the timing, not the best time for the Yankees.
The Yankees have had plenty of hits with free agents, and the championships prove it.
Yes.
They've had the misses, too.
They have, and so
they got so much money, they can make mistakes.
They don't care. I mean, even that seems like a large contract, $218 million over 8 years. I think a little too long for Max Fried, but they don't care. That's just another guy. They'll go out and get another big name as well. Mm-hmm.
I could have done without Dan Mullen, who is now a Rebel. Dan Mullen, now a Rebel. Wow. How about that?
Fever dream.
A UNLV Rebel. Thank God he won't be on my TV anymore. Bet Matt Berry is glad. I said it earlier this year. Can you imagine being stuck in a golf cart for 4 hours with Dan Mullen?
They were doing it every week. Every new place they went, they'd go play around in golf.
Rebel Dan Mullen.
That's right.
The school out west.
He better be careful out there in Las Vegas. I could see Dan Mullen having a little too much fun at the casino.
Can't win at Florida. How you going to win at UNLV?
It's going to be tough. But, hey, it's, I guess, a splashy hire for them. Where are you beaming tonight?
The Bay Area, Santa Clara, down the 101 from downtown in San Francisco to Niners and Rams. San Francisco leads all-time 78-70 to 3, 1-1 postseason. I would have thought these teams met more than that in the postseason. First meeting, 1950. Quarterbacks Bob Waterfield against Frankie Albert, and on the field that night, Mr. Outside, Glenn Davis, a running back from Army, Heisman Trophy winner.
Wow, yeah, no, that's going to be a good game tonight. Again, reminder, you can listen to that game right here, Sports 56, 6:30. We'll start with the pregame Rams and 49ers. Beam me tonight to Iowa City for Iowa State against Iowa. A great rivalry. Iowa 7-2 this season. Iowa State number 3 in the country.
Say it.
Say what?
Cy-Hawk Trophy on the hardwood.
Oh, yes, it is. It absolutely is, Brad. I always forget those rivalries carry over.
And more of the Belichick fallout. Rams, Niners, we'll be listening and watching it closely. 3 NBA games tonight, 2 in the East, 1 in the West.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night. We got the football. It's another limited schedule in both college basketball and the NBA, but a little more than what we've had the last couple of days, so that will be nice. Enjoy the night. That's all the time we have. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
At East Coast Wings and Grill with 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes. Do you have what it takes to